Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And today we have another episode. We're on 214 today, and we're on not the normal day. I don't want to say the wrong day. We're on not the normal day, an atypical day for us because I sometimes mess up travel plans and stuff like that, and I booked a flight on Livestream day and I couldn't change it. So sometimes I shouldn't mess with my schedule. I should let the people who are better at it, like Julie, help with my schedule. But it is what it is. So we're here today. So what I wanted to go over, well, today is a Q&A for those of you who are here. So if you're here early and you have questions, now is the time to get them in before the super chats start rolling in. So now is the time. There we go. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll check on that. Okay. Oh, Chilag. Okay. So we'll get into that. So first I wanted to go over some of the MSG stuff. So people understand how, Kelsey and I went over it in the episode, but it's kind of further back in the episode. So I wanted to go over that. For those of you who choose to try MSG and see the health benefits that it can give you, but let's say you're worried about what you've heard on the internet, or you're worried about, maybe you believe that you've had a reaction to MSG in the past. Now, let me just tell you, even the guy who wrote the Chinese restaurant syndrome letter to the New England Journal of Medicine that started it all admitted it might be the sulfites in the cooking wine that they use a lot of. How many people here do we have who know that they react to sulfites? A lot. Sulfur slows detox, and sulfites can cause all sorts of symptoms. So that's just one thing. So if you're hesitant on the MSG thing because you believe you have reacted to foods or food products, the yeast extract or any of those things, first of all, that may or may not be MSG, because once MSG is in something living, it dissociates into sodium and glutamate. Glutamate is pretty much in every food you eat. So if it's a naturally produced glutamate, it's glutamate. There may be sodium in the food too, but MSG, just like salt, when you put salt into water, it breaks into sodium and chloride ions. When you put sodium glutamate, what we call MSG, into water or fluids, the body, whatever, it dissociates into sodium and glutamate. And science has said they are exactly the same. So they are the same thing chemically. Okay. Next, if you have had what you believe is a reaction to glutamate, and let's say you purposely avoid it because of that reason, and let's say your health has been slowly sliding further and further downhill, well, you might want to fix that. Glutamate itself, when people have, if it's actually a reaction to this, now just so you know, the research shows that most of what people believe are MSG reactions are placebo or mental effects in their head. They believe they should react, and they do. Remember, placebo goes both ways. It can help you feel better. It can make you feel worse. So when they purposely tried to create these headaches or these Chinese restaurant syndrome in people by using pure MSG in foods, and people didn't know which foods they were in or not, they found no consistency and very few reactions. So it may just be in your head. And now if you're not willing to give that up, you can keep that if you want. You can keep it forever. So if you're going to try MSG, now, first of all, I have found, thanks to Gabe Brady, shout out to Gabe Brady, he found from Modern Pantry, a non-GMO, they specifically state non-GMO, and I guess they have non-GMO on a lot of their products, a non-GMO MSG that he says tastes better. Like it works even better than the Ajinomoto stuff. So if you want, I would suggest non-GMO whenever you can. And so the Modern Pantry, I'm going to order some and get some going. So try it out myself, because if it's cleaner and it tastes better, why not? So I know Modern Pantry is available. You can probably find it at their website. You can probably find it on Amazon. Okay. So if you're going to start on it, first of all, maybe open your mind up to the fact that you might have been reacting to something else in the foods, hydrolyzed soy proteins, hydrolyzed wheat proteins, other things that are not MSG that could cause reactions. And to the idea that it might have just been something you believed happened. Okay. Oh, here, Heather Parker said MSG got rid of her heartburn immediately. Her sleep is very deep too. So this is what happens when you get the right stuff. So glutamate, the whole excitotoxicity. I want to clarify one thing about excitotoxicity or an excito thing. So there's inhibitory and excitatory. Excitatory simply means, as Kelsey summarized it to me, she gave me this great little concept on it. Excitatory means it turns something on. It's an on switch. That's it. Inhibitory means it's an off switch. Now, do you see how they could use those to kind of plant ideas in your head and do like a little psyop thing of, oh, excitotoxins, because things are being turned on. So why, when your liver starts making more liver enzymes, is it making glutamate from those enzymes? Is it trying to hurt you, or is it trying to turn things back on? Think about that. And it's been shown that the glutamate, the brain protects itself. I mean, the brain barrier, the blood-brain barrier keeps the amount of glutamate in the brain that it wants. So if the brain has more glutamate in it, it's trying to make it. If you show up to a house that's on fire and you say, every time I show up to these houses on fire, there's firefighters here, the firefighters must be the problem. Do you understand how that doesn't work? So finding something there does not mean it's causing the problem. Okay. So here we go. If you're going to start on MSG, and even if you have reactions to it in the past, if you're sure, first of all, if you don't know that you've reacted to pure MSG, you don't know if you're MSG sensitive. Okay? Because everything else has other stuff in it. Then we have, start with like a pinch, not the measuring teaspoon pinch. That I think is a quarter teaspoon. Okay? We're not talking like a giant pinch. We're talking a sprinkle, little pinch sprinkle. Okay? No, I'm not going to measure it for you. You want to go smaller than that? Go smaller than that. There's more glutamate than the little sprinkle you put in the food already if you're eating protein foods. As Kelsey was saying, this new thing going around where women are having a steak when their period starts, and it's cutting their period discomfort and bleeding and time way down. It's probably the glutamate. Red meat would be the highest source of glutamate in most people's diets because it's got the most protein. Okay. Now, if you're going to start, you start small. If you get symptoms from it, whatever it is, then what you do, if you're willing to continue for the benefits that we're seeing, you can reduce your dose further. Continue doing it. We have research, I didn't show it on that episode, but we have research showing that glutamate fixes tight junctions. So even if you thought you were leaking glutamate, glutamate fixes it. So glutamate is food for your gut. Let's say you don't eat enough glutamate or your body's using up glutamate everywhere else. Well, you've heard of leaky gut, and your gut cells soak up 90% of the glutamate you eat as soon as it goes by them. Why do you think they do that? Gosh, do you think it might help with leaky gut if I tell you there's research showing it helps fix the tight junctions, which is what leaky gut is broken tight junctions or weak tight junctions? So, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about MSG, go back 2 episodes. I'm not going over the whole live stream again. Go back to episode 212 and watch Kelsey and I go over the psyop that is MSG is bad for you. Why does everybody else in the world still eat it and they don't talk about problems with it? But here in the West, remember, in the West, we have been the most psyoped by nutrition psyops. Everybody else in the world eats it. They don't talk about excitotoxicity. Americans got duped by a book and a guy who did a terrible, absolute garbage study on some rats. So that all started all of this. And now we have people who assume that they're sensitive to glutamates when they don't understand that it's in pretty much every protein food that you eat. Okay. So let me get to the super chat from Chilaga1. Okay. They said, hi, doctor. I had a consult with you in March 2023. I had great improvements. Then things went down. I did not do any tests due to budget until 2 weeks ago. Vitamin A down to 34. Well, I don't know what that means, down to 34. I don't have time to look up your labs right now. And I don't really want to turn the Q&A into lab analysis. But so we got vitamin A down to 34, zinc up to 86, but ferritin from 237 to 713. Okay. How could this have happened? First of all, Chilaga, did you start eating a lot more red meat than you used to when you did this program? This is a very important thing because this is individuality, where some people will say the diet didn't work for me, and people may have been choosing things that don't work for them. So I need to know if you okay, wait. Hold on, let me keep going. You had more here. Okay, so yeah, sorry, there's other super chats. I'll get to these, so don't worry about answering it all. I see it now. They said, reason, I started eating rabbit thinking it's a white meat alternative with zero vitamin A just to see now it has more heme iron than beef. I was eating 1.25 pounds of beef and rabbit a day plus some veggies. Wow, okay, so this could be an issue. I'm a 64-year-old, 95-pound female, super sensitive overachiever. I can only take 1 drop of molybdenum, lactoferrin on the tip of the knife, zinc very diluted, plus 1 drop of selenium a day. I do mag lotion, charcoal, potassium salt. Now I'm on chicken breast and white beans. So far can tolerate beans after 6 days on MSG sprinkle plus some veg. Any suggestions? Thanks to you and Kelsey for all that you do. Good filling in all the holes. Those were the holes I needed to fill in. So that really helps. So first of all, look, folks, I don't think we went over this research, but MSG, glutamate, actually helps your gut biome. Glutamate feeds your gut cells. Everybody talks about leaky gut. Glutamate feeds your gut cells, and glutamate does actually affect the gut biome because, in theory, if it made your bile better, if it helps your liver, it makes your bile better. If your bile is better, your gut biome becomes better. If your gut biome becomes better, then you can tolerate things like beans that you couldn't before. This is how it works. So we have this person saying, sorry, I wanted to make sure I got the gender right before I started saying her, him. I'm trying to do that right. So Chilaga's a woman, 95 pounds. Okay. So that's important. Super sensitive, probably more, towards the under type for sure. Sensitive, under type, smaller person. And then we have the ferritin thing. Okay. So I want to talk about this. Not everybody does great on red meat. Not everybody does. So you're doing, Chilaga, you're doing the right thing. You moved to chicken because you thought it could be the iron, and you went to white beans. So everybody, I'm suggesting we all, if you're doing a lot of beans, if you're tolerating beans, and first of all, like we just saw, MSG may help you tolerate beans better because it helps your gut biome. If you don't tolerate beans well, it's likely your gut biome, as Greg Mushin, M-U-S-H-E-N, Greg Mushin, he's on Twitter. He's posts awesome stuff. He's totally in agreement with us about like the foundational basics of diet. And he loves Great Northern beans. And he did a whole thread on how people, like, especially, let's say, all muscle meat carnivores who are like, I can't eat beans. I can't eat grains. I eat anything other than meat. It just totally wrecks the gut biome. It wrecks their stomach. This is their gut biome. And he went over the research. Their gut biome is messed up. And it starts making all sorts of messed up stuff because it's messed up. A messed up gut biome takes the same foods and makes it into messed up stuff. That's it. That's the layman's explanation. So, moving towards white beans, there will be less polyphenols. I swear they're just easier to digest, especially Great Northern. And you're going to get some more calcium in your diet that way, which, as we talked about in episode 208, I believe it is, there may be, some people who need more calcium than the older plan gave. White beans help fill a lot of that gap. Okay. So we have plenty of people who are not showing any calcium deficiency problems. So it seems that very little may be needed, but some people may need more. Okay, so now let's get back to the ferritin thing. You were doing rabbit, which has even more heme iron than beef, folks. So let's talk about the original prison diet setup. Red meat, beef or bison, black beans, white or brown rice. And some people might have said, well, I don't feel good on this diet. Oh my gosh, I must need vitamin A. Well, maybe it's not that. Maybe some people just can't eat that much red meat and the heme iron that's in it. They just absorb it really well, or they're really efficient. We could say they're really efficient at absorbing it. That might be it. Or they might just not get rid of it as well. Okay, it could be either. It could be taking in too much for them. It could be not getting rid of enough quickly enough. Okay? So is the prison diet perfect for everyone? No. There was another woman who ate beans for a year and then tried to blame and she said she didn't feel good on it, and she ate them for a year, and then she comes and tries to blame the diet. How many times do I have to say, Doc, it doesn't feel good when I do this? Well, then don't do that. I just learned user error in simple computer tasks. Like when they have normal people doing simple computer tasks, there is a 70% chance that a person is going to screw up any single step. It's called user error. So let's just say people didn't know about user error, or let's say the prison diet was presented as the diet for everyone, which is not what I say. And somebody like Chilaga doesn't get along with an excess of heme iron. Have I seen this before? Yeah, we've seen this multiple times. How do we fix it? Well, then we take out more of the heme iron, or even all of it, in terms of like the red meat. And then we start looking at, maybe you need some zinc. If you're going to take out the red meat, you might need some zinc when you tolerate it. You may not tolerate very much zinc at all, or not at all at the start. Chicken may or may not be enough. Now, Chilaga, I can also tell you, if you watch the Wardy Harmon episode from last week, just so you guys know, if you ever can't find a video on the channel and you're clicking on the live tab to find the live streams, well, last week it was a pre-recorded episode, and so I have to put it up as a video. So if you ever can't find a live stream, look on the videos tab and not the live. So if you ever can't find them, just go between those two tabs to find, like, if it's going along and it seems to skip a live stream, go to the videos. Okay, but Wardy was so sensitive to zinc at one point, she couldn't eat red meat at all. She couldn't even eat dark meat chicken. She had to eat chicken breast. And as we are getting her better, especially as she started introducing MSG, she is tolerating a lot more zinc. Now, Chilaga, if you're saying you can tolerate beans after adding the MSG, you are likely on the road to tolerating a lot more stuff. So that's the good news. But yeah, the ferritin, make sure you watch the ferritin episode. But folks, the prison diet, as they call it, the beef, the red meat, beans, and rice, is not perfect for everyone. So some of these things that you may have heard have been called the detox setback may simply be problems with the diet, that it doesn't work for everyone. This should not be that hard. Only people who don't treat people on a regular basis would not be able to understand this. Once somebody treats people on a regular basis and they admit that nothing is perfect, or they can actually use their brain to think, well, maybe this person needs a little more of this, and maybe this person needs a little more of that. And the only way we're going to know is through testing or watching things. Like Chilaga did a good, she didn't test in between, but now that she's tested, okay, so the ferritin went up. We've had people who they just simply they cut out a lot of the red meat, or they cut out all the red meat, and their ferritin comes down to where it's supposed to be. And if they eat any red meat, their ferritin jumps up. Is that a problem of the diet, or is that just their physiology? It's just their physiology. Just think about it. Like, you got a truck out on the road driving on the same type of gas that an economy car does. They don't use the same amount of gas. They use different amounts. People can be different. And if you put in way too much, let's say iron, for your tolerance, then it causes problems. You don't overfill the gas tank on the compact just to put as much gas in it as the pickup truck that gets like 6 miles to the gallon. Okay. So you didn't do anything wrong, Chalga. I'm glad you found this, and I'm glad we got to go over this because this is very pertinent to a Substack that I'm writing that will be eye-opening for a lot of people. So yes. The only other thing is sometimes you may want to consider sometimes I would definitely, like you said, you were doing rabbit and it's higher in heme iron than beef, and you're 95 pounds and you're doing a pound and a quarter of red meat. You were doing a pound and a quarter of red meat a day. That's quite the combo. So that is where I would look first. It is very likely you'll see things fix themselves over time. Now, some people, lactoferrin can seem to increase their iron retention a little bit. Some people, it helps clear it out. This is the problem. We can't just generalize and say it does one thing, because lactoferrin, in rare cases, it can raise ferritin a bit. And in lots of other people, it's fixing your liver. And so it helps the ferritin come down. People out there who want to badmouth lactoferrin because of 1 or 2 people having a negative response, even though I give instructions about start very slow, and if things don't seem to be going well, reduce your dose, or maybe it's not even for you yet. It's amazing that people ignore that advice that I give. So anyway, so that's what I would do. I would definitely work on the red meat towards chicken like you're doing. And who knows, it may be the MSG switch that helped, or the addition of that, plus you getting off the red meat. That is part of why you're feeling better already. And you're doing 6 days on the MSG sprinkle. So just, you can go up if you want. If you're tolerating it, you can go up if you're noticing good results. Oh, so back to how to go up on MSG. Start with the sprinkle. Is there a dose that might be more than your body likes? Sure. Why wouldn't there be? The maximum we've found, Kelsey and I have found from the early conversations we've had with people who are doing this, is it seems that diminishing returns happen somewhere around 2 teaspoons to 3 teaspoons a day. Okay. So we're not saying everybody should take that. We're saying people can get up to that amount. And if they start going over that, it seems like it doesn't do more. So why go higher? Why spend the money? Why put more stuff in if all of a sudden your glutamate food cravings have basically disappeared and you're improving? Why put more stuff in your body on top of that? So we're saying somewhere between, most people's dose is going to be somewhere between sprinkling it on their food. I always do it before the salt. So I do the MSG before I do the salt, and it makes it so if you're going to use anything salty, you need way, way less salt. Okay. MSG only has 1/3 of the sodium in it that table salt does. Okay. So yeah, we're seeing improvements already in multiple people from the MSG. So those of you who are out there going, oh my gosh, the whole internet seems to say MSG is bad. The whole internet said vitamin A is a vitamin too. Like, it's crazy that some people have gotten into my work, and then all of a sudden they think that now that they're out of the work, they go, oh, well, obviously we can trust all the science on everything else now. It's like they forgot everything they learned, which is humorous. It's sad, but the same concepts still apply. Okay. And Americans, when you look at Americans' food choices and you look at the highest glutamate foods, you can obviously tell that Americans are dying for glutamate. They are absolutely dying to eat more of it. Your body tells you these foods, that the typical American fast food, let's say you're one of these people, when you eat really healthy on the diet, if you do it long enough, like Matt Stone, on the Matt Stone episode, he specifically talked to me about it separately, and on the episode, like his girlfriend, if she went, I think him and his girlfriend, if they went too long without going out to eat, they would start to feel slowly worse. And they would go out to eat, and I've heard this from multiple other people. They go out to eat, and then all of a sudden it's like they get a boost. What do you think could be the nutrient in going out to eat that's what they're getting? It's probably glutamate. Then they feel better for a couple of days. Things perk up. And then they're They're not getting as much glutamate as they need in their normal, very clean diet. And so then they eventually want to go out again. Well, what if you got the glutamate you needed every day? Then all of a sudden that issue is fixed. I mean, you can still go out to eat if you want. That's up to you. Choices have consequences. Okay, so let's see this. So we had, P. Miller said, hello. Yes, hello. Beth is saying, hi, Garrett, what would be GMO about MSG? Or did I hear that wrong? Okay. It could simply be like they use sugar beets for it. They use plant sources for it. It is a fermentation process that uses plant foods. So if they're starting with GMO plant foods, they might have to market that way. The thing that's sad nowadays that the food industry does is, as long as they cannot detect GMO stuff in the final product, they say you can call it to a certain level. So there's like an acceptable level of GMO that they can test up to. And if they find GMO in it below that, they can say it's non-GMO. This is the supplement industry and the nutrition industry. I don't know what to do about it. We have to function in the world, and it's helping people. And MSG is very, very purified. So that's what we got. Jake Furman says, free glutamate sources definitely give me headaches. I did genetic testing through Tree of Life, and the ND said I was at risk for excitotoxicity. Free glutamate in your blood does not get into your brain. This has been shown over and over in research. Free glutamate. Okay, so anytime you cook ground beef, anytime you cook meat, anytime you cook a protein source, you are creating free glutamate. This is why a steak, one of the reasons why a steak tastes different than a piece of raw meat. This is why aged cheeses taste different than cheeses that are not aged. It's free glutamate. Glutamate is what you taste. So anything that you taste that is umami at all, savory, has free glutamate in it. That's it. So I don't know. Until people say they actually test it out with MSG and then they do the approach that I'm saying and they still have issues, I'm going to have to see it. And it still then could be in their head. Maybe they don't get along with it at all. Okay, fine. We have way too many people who are benefiting this for me to not share it, though. Okay. Okay, so this is a good question. So Chris Unhurted says, question, what are your feelings on organic sorry, I'm skipping the other super chats. That was an accident. I will get to the super chats in a second. Sorry about that. Question, what are your feelings on organic non-fortified nutritional yeast, which is beige in color? It contains glutamic acid and has umami taste. Let me go find my article on that. We don't do yeast because the research back from, I think it was either the 40s or the 50s, maybe the 60s, shows that vitamin A toxicity symptoms show up at lowered when the animals were fed vitamin A containing foods, or yeast or other foods, certain foods, the vitamin A toxicity symptoms would show up at lower intakes of vitamin A than if they just gave the animals higher doses of vitamin A. So I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to put this link in the chat for you. Here, Joe, I didn't share my screen earlier. Let me get that up. Hold on, Joe, don't share the screen yet. Get back in here and then go share this tab. Okay. So now you can show it, Joe. So check, there we go. Okay. So this was the post, multiple things thought to be healthy that make poison/vitamin A toxicity worse. This is what I used to call it. Back in 2019. So the paper is potentiating, as in strengthening effects of materials of plant and animal origin on symptoms of hypervitaminosis A in the rat. Things that made vitamin A toxicity worse at lower doses in the rat. So we have, I think I've been over this before. Look, I want you to pay attention here. We got alfalfa meal, alfalfa juice, alfalfa residue. So every single part of alfalfa. Okay. Defatted alfalfa, alfalfa meal, dried alfalfa juice, alfalfa residue. So is it just the vitamin A that's in there? Because alfalfa does have quite a bit of vitamin A. Or is it something innate in that plant? So we got an antibiotic made vitamin A toxicity worse. We have all the grasses, all your favorite grasses in your green drinks: oat grass, ryegrass, orchard grass, wheatgrass, fescue grass. Here, again, with liver, dried liver, so no water, water-insoluble liver residue, so the fatty compounds from liver, water-soluble liver concentrate, so the water compounds from liver. Then we have a, quote, a product derived from fermentation sources. That's all the description they gave in the paper. Tuna solubles and fish solubles. Yeast. Here we go. Nutritional yeast. That's what they called it in the paper. Yeast. I'm not going to say there's differences here between brewer's yeast and nutritional yeast and whatever. Yeast made vitamin A toxicity worse. Okay. Palm kernel meal. Coconut cake. Coconut cake made vitamin A toxicity worse. Herring roe, fish eggs, soybean lecithin, phosphatidylcholine. So for you egg lovers out there, the egg addicts, thinking of one guy in particular, lecithin, they measure choline in your blood. In my eggs thread, I go over how the amount of lecithin in your blood, choline in the blood, the researchers said it is directly relatable to the amount of eggs you eat. I say don't eat a lot of lecithin from eggs, because egg lecithin is very real. So sunflower lecithin, soybean lecithin, because, well, here we have it. It makes vitamin A toxicity worse at lower doses. So what do eggs come with? Vitamin A and a lot of lecithin. And then we have fish solubles. So let me read this part. The symptoms of hypervitaminosis A exhibited in the present experiment by rats fed supplements of alfalfa meal and other materials, pay attention, appeared to be identical in appearance, time of onset, severity, and incidence to those of rats fed the purified basal diet, the normal diet, supplemented with amounts of vitamin A considerably in excess of the amounts present in the above rations. So vitamin A toxicity symptoms happened when rats got less vitamin A, but they got these other ingredients that was similar to when they gave them big doses of vitamin A without those other ingredients. That's called synergy, a toxic synergy. So no, we don't use yeast. That's the simple answer to that. But if you guys want to go and look at this post, it's there. Okay, so that's what we got. P. Miller says, wait, so do we need to consume MSG for the benefits, or do high glutamate things like coconut aminos work too? It's all glutamate. Do you know how much you're getting? Like, I mean, the thing about if you're doing food sources of glutamate, you don't know how much you're getting. I don't know that even the manufacturer could tell you very well. And then you're going to get all the other stuff in there too. Is that good for you? I don't know. So do you have to consume it? You don't have to do anything. Always remember, we have a framework of things. We do not have a protocol. Even though Wardy used the word protocol in her episode, okay, no big deal. She knows it's not a protocol. Wardy is actually one of the best people at adjusting what she needs to what her body tells her. So of all the people, somebody said, they kind of made a comment about Wardy using the word protocol, and I was kind of like, it's okay. She gets it, that it's a framework. So I don't use the word protocol, but I know that Wardy's interpretation and her execution of our framework is like bar none. She's so great at it. She is super sensitive, and she's fixed a lot of stuff. And the MSG has really helped her. If you wanted to see the MSG episode testimonial from her, well, that was what, episode 212. Okay. So I mean, you can consume whatever glutamate source you want. I'm going to make it easy and do MSG. And when I choose to, I might use tamari. Like I don't use soy sauce. If you're going to use something like soy sauce, use wheat-free tamari. That is fermented. Breaks down the isoflavones, which are polyphenols, which we don't like. The phytoestrogen polyphenols, we don't want those. So if you're going to use something that's soy, it needs to always be fermented soy. Okay. You don't have to use that, but you could. People don't realize actually Worcestershire sauce is glutamate. What else is there? Oh, Kelsey found an Instagram. If you want to look up on Instagram, I'm not going to do it right now, but Kelsey found a reel on portable soup. So what they did was they made like broth with the meat. So they had to travel with this stuff. They made broth with the meat and then they cooked it down till it was like a goo. And they could travel with it. It kept for super long time. So they were actually traveling with MSG. As you start to look into our history, you'll see that people would be traveling with white people had our glutamate too. And they could just do what MSG does, what glutamate does is it basically extends your proteins further. When people look at, let's say, lots of Asia where they live on mostly rice, but they use MSG, this starts to make sense. Glutamate helps all your other protein go further. That's it. Okay. ATS, what is MSG? I hope you've caught that by now. Detox. Oh, sorry. Let me get the other super chats. I'm sorry. I'm losing track here. Here we go. Okay. P. Miller 714 asks, it's often difficult to recognize if I'm reacting poorly to something if I generally feel bad all the time anyway. What are the most common negative reactions to mineral supplements? I honestly can't tell. Well, I think I go over this in the network, in the articles about it, like zinc and selenium and molybdenum, they're all copper antagonists. So when they go into the system, they do two things generally. They're going to help protect you against copper, and they may potentially stir up copper. Because as your liver gets these nutrients, it starts pushing things out. But if it pushes more out than you can protect against at the moment, you get symptoms. Simple. Common things for copper dumping, as we call it, might be anxiety, depression, insomnia, especially trouble falling asleep initially. Women will tend to notice more hormonal issues. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Off the top of my head, I'm not thinking of them at the moment, but those are the most common ones. So what you'd want to look for, P. Miller, is especially in the hours after you take any of the minerals, does something happen? Does something get worse? Does the symptom that you have get worse, or does symptoms that you have sometimes all of a sudden pop up? And then the solution to it is just first, well, if you were okay with the symptoms, if you were like, this is fine, I understand what's happening and I can deal with it, you can keep doing it. But generally the recommendation is to take less. Or some people, like you saw with Chalaga, she's like 1 drop. So super low doses of these basic minerals are stirring stuff up. And what do we have here? She's 64 years old and she's a small woman. And so these things stir up a lot of toxicity in her. And then she even has the iron thing. Copper and iron. I mean, what we see on blood tests is we typically see vitamin A is high, ferritin's high, and copper's high. It's like the trio of chronic sickness these days. So it makes sense that they would go up together. So somebody, let's say if Chalaga has a significant amount of copper toxicity, that may actually, and she takes in more red meat than she tolerates. Most people tolerate red meat just fine. I'm not advocating to stop red meat, Some people don't tolerate it. So if you have unexplained high ferritin and you're eating like only red meat because you think that's what everybody does, well, not everybody does it, and you don't have to do it. I don't do red meat all the time. I observed a long time ago that I don't feel good on red meat every meal of every day. So I don't eat it every meal of every day. It's pretty simple. And my ferritin stays in the nice little 30 to 70 range. I figured out what worked for me. Now, if you don't ever test, you may not know. When we're working on making more panels available in the store, so if people just want to go and run their own tests, you can't. Has that happened yet? No, we're working on it. We got a bunch of things in the works. So, yeah, we have to watch ourselves for these things. This is why anybody who wants to be like, let's say somebody comes along and they do Grant's prison diet. And 2 months later, they're like, I don't feel good doing this. This whole thing is a sham. Do you see how much brain work they probably put into it? And maybe even before they went on this, they were like, well, I don't feel good on eating red meat, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's what he did. Do you want to understand why I don't often tell people what my diet is? So they don't make the exact same mistake of thinking the prison diet is everybody's diet. I've figured out what works for me. I've got some people who eat no red meat. I've got some people who eat red meat 3 times a day. I'm kind of in between. Do I want people to assume that I have it right because of what worked for me? Because they don't want to think and they just want to do a protocol? That's why we don't do protocols. There's reasons for all of these things. There's reasons why I've been able to help people who couldn't get help before, because I allow them to be okay with not getting along with everything I say to do, or that I suggest. Actually, I should say that I'm not telling them to do it. I'm suggesting that they try it. I'm a guide. I am helping people to see things that they could try that they may not have tried before. I'm not making anybody do anything. Nobody comes into the program and they're like, I don't tolerate this. I can't take it. No one is sitting there going, take it. Okay. So, sorry, detox. Oh, sorry. Let me get to the next super chat. So thank you for that super chat, P. Miller. But yeah, definitely, if you look up copper toxicity symptoms and they dump at the same, and you get symptoms when you take some of the minerals or any of the minerals, this is why, again, so people can customize this for themselves. If you're going to add a mineral, if you're going to add any supplement, do it one at a time. Give it at least a week. If you're very sensitive, you may want to stay at a certain dose. Like, so if you add a pill of zinc, you're going to stay at that dose for at least a week. At least. If you're real sensitive, you may want to stay longer. If you're going to go up on this, if you get the zinc drops, which we made so people could do lower doses and do very custom doses. If you're going to do the zinc drops, only add 1 drop a day at the most. If you're a sensitive type, maybe you add 1 drop every 3 days. So you have time to notice if anything changes. So if you don't feel good on a dose, you can back off. That doesn't mean that all zinc is bad for you. If you go up to like 10 milligrams of zinc a day and you're fine, and then all of a sudden you decide to try 12 or 14 and you don't feel good, does that mean zinc is bad for you? Or that, as some people are implying, if any supplement ever made anybody ever feel bad anywhere, that they shouldn't take it? That's ludicrous. You know what? Some people go in the gym and they do exercises and the exercise doesn't feel good for them. Does that mean everybody should stop exercising or everybody should stop doing that exercise? No, it's ludicrous. This is the logic that some people out there are using, though. It's pretty bad logic. So, okay. So let me get to the next super chat then. Jake Furman says, hypothetically, if you are someone who genetically doesn't process glutamate well and suffer from excitotoxicity, what can you do about it? Genetic testing, in my experience, people who decide to do everything based on genetic testing usually get stuck the most. Genetic testing, in my experience, has been the least productive health approach. Like genetic counselors, they just like give you a ton of supplements based on whatever genetic testing they saw. Some people out there are challenging the whole notion of genetic testing at all. So do I go for it? I was supposed to, as I've been over before, my testing, my blood testing, and my reaction to flush niacin at low doses, and my questionnaire said I was an undermethylator. And therefore, I'm supposed to have like big flushes to flush niacin at low doses, which is, I did. Okay. I took flush niacin. I continued to take it. As I went up in dose, the flushes eventually got less and less. So then the over-methylators are the ones who are supposed to tolerate big high doses of flush niacin. So if I can tolerate big doses of flush niacin, then did I change into an over-methylator? Well, if you watch the nicotinic acid flush niacin episode that Kelsey and I did, we have the research showing that flush niacin fixes methylation in people with genetic methylation problems. So again, on flush niacin, how much am I going to believe the genetic testing? When the flush niacin can go into genetic problem people and fix their methylation rates. How did I switch from an undermethylator to an overmethylator? I took flush niacin, which the research says fixes your methylation. So anyway, I think most of genetic testing and the things that people do with it is horseshit. That's my opinion on it. And we have people, like I said, Jake, who start, they take the glutamate at the start, and maybe they get a little headache. Okay. What we have seen, if you watch the testimonials on the MSG episode, was we have a specific testimonial of somebody who had that happen. They said the headache felt different than normal, and they didn't mind it. And they just kept taking it lower dose, and then the headaches went away. And then they really started noticing the benefits of it. What did the glutamate change? Did an excitotoxin suddenly become not excitotoxic, supposedly? Or did it help fix something in their system? Right? Okay, let me do an example here. When somebody hasn't been exercising, they don't exercise at all, and they go to the gym and they do a hard lifting workout, how do they feel for the next 1, 2, 3, 4 days? They feel horribly sore. Horribly sore, like they don't want to move. Like, oh, God, it hurts. Any of us who ever lifted, let's say you do a squat workout after you haven't squatted in months or years or ever, and you can barely get up and down off the toilet when you're sore like that. Those of us who know, if you know, you know. So then should we say, I'm sensitive to squats, I should never squat because the last time I squatted, I got so sore I could hardly get up and down? Or if you maybe squat conservatively on your first workout or not, and then you come back and you do it again before a week is up, or maybe the next week, is the soreness less the next time? Yeah, it is. And is the soreness less the next time after that? Yeah. Do you see how so the same logic strings can be applied to exercise? Now, did we suddenly change this person's genetics? Was it the person's genetics that was making them sore after squatting? Hardly. Did we change their genetics by having them squat? No. Are we changing the function of their body system by having them squat weight? Yeah, we're absolutely changing the function of their body system. So could something that hurt in the beginning eventually be something that makes somebody stronger in the end? That's exactly what we're talking about. Okay. If I was, My ND buddies who do genetic testing, I don't listen to a dang thing they say. Most other NDs would listen to my stuff and they would clutch their pearls. They would really clutch their pearls because they're stuck in, most NDs are stuck in pharmaceutical mechanisms. Most of the pharmaceutical mechanisms are likely created with herbs. Pharma puts tons of money into studying herbs. Why? So they can create new mechanisms so that then they can make a patent drug based on the mechanisms that they found in the herbs. So herbs are just one step away. Herbal medicine is one step away from pharmaceuticals. Nobody has an herb deficiency. Okay. Okay, so CEW says, does zeolite have the same instant binding effect as charcoal if taken for GERD episode? Constipation risks with it. Okay, so this is a good topic. Actually, zeolite, our new zeolite product, it's in the store if you want to get some, but our new zeolite is, well, zeolite in general is going to, my plan is it's the topic for next week. Okay, so if you want to see that, definitely come then. We'll go over all the research on it, or as much research as I can without making it too long. We'll go over how to take it, the comparisons between it and charcoal and how to use them together and all this stuff. Okay, so does it have the same binding effect for GERD? Well, okay, so here's early previews of the zeolite show. Charcoal and zeolite have different binding affinities. What that means is they grab onto the same things, but they have different things they like more. Like you have a sibling and you both were kind of raised on the same foods and you like all, similar foods overall, but your favorite food might be different than their favorite food. And your most disliked food may be different than their most disliked food. If you guys had to rank the foods, all the same foods, you guys you're likely going to rank them in a different order. Okay, so charcoal and zeolite are very similar. Charcoal is really, really, really good at grabbing onto bile. This is why, in theory, it tends to be more constipating. Okay, so let's just say, I'm going to make up a number here because I don't have exact stats on this and no one is keeping track of this. Let's say that 95% of people, when they take more charcoal than they can tolerate, they get constipated. It tends to constipate because it soaks up so much bile, which bile is the trigger for you to poop. Bile touching your intestines. So if the charcoal soaks all the bile into the inside of it, it's not touching your intestines, so the trigger to poop is less. Then there's the 5% of people where charcoal actually helps them poop. And they have to watch out for taking too much charcoal because it can push them into diarrhea and dumping too much bile. So we have the same supplement, the same compound, charcoal. Some people poop more, most people poop less. Okay. Does zeolite do the same thing? I mean, similar. I mean, zeolite, I'll go over the research showing that zeolite does bind to bile. There is research on that. Yes. Does zeolite bind to bile as much as charcoal? No. Zeolite's most likely better at binding to toxic metals than charcoal. Zeolite does not have as much of an affinity to binding to bile as charcoal does. Here's the other thing, though. Most people, when they take zeolite, I don't have a percentage on this, but again, let's say it's 95 and 5. 95% of people, when they take zeolite, it tends to help them poop better. Sometimes when people start the zeolite, they even get a bit of loose bowels, and that tends to go away as their body gets used to whatever's happening. And let's say there's 5% of people where zeolite tends to constipate them. Okay. That's the pattern. Zeolite tends to help people poop better. Most people. Charcoal, if taken too much, can be a bit constipating. Most people. There are exceptions to both. Now, could the same person have an issue of they both seem to constipate me? Okay. Anything can cause anything in anyone at any time. We have to respect the body's response to it so that we can customize this to each individual. That's the deal. Anybody who doesn't like that, they're like, well, am I going to get constipated or not? I don't know. Are you going to like this new dish at a restaurant? I don't know. Like, I can't predict this. I don't know how your body's going to react. Like, does most people's ferritin, like Chilaga, go through the roof if they eat red meat? No, it doesn't. Does it happen to some people? Yes, it does. How do we figure this out? We try it. I mean, I haven't had anybody, so people go, well, why didn't you know that's going to happen with rabbit? Because nobody's eating rabbit. Or even if they are, they're not telling me. So this is a new data point. This is what we get when we are heading out into the nutrition world and doing stuff that nobody else is doing. We have to figure it out as we go. Okay. Oh, Joe put up the link to the zeolite product. So if you want to get some, it's there. Like I said, I'm going to do the big show on it this coming week. So that will be fun. Okay. So that's all of the, okay. There's some research. I'll give you this right now. There is some research on zeolite and charcoal taken together for lead absorption, which is a funny topic because I'm going to cover that in my Substack article too. You know that lead has commonly been found in calcium supplements. Whoops. And in Canada's water supply all over the place. Whoops. Anyway. So where was I going with that? So they were looking at different ratios of charcoal and zeolite together. They found that the best ratio in the study, I believe it was 4 parts zeolite to 1 part charcoal. 4-to-1 zeolite to charcoal. Now, does that mean that's the best ratio for you or for everybody? Absolutely not. Let's say you have somebody who's like, I can't take any charcoal, I get constipated, but zeolite helps me poop. Okay, do the zeolite. Somebody's like, something doesn't work with me for the zeolite, but charcoal feels amazing. Okay, then do charcoal. Somebody else goes, wow, I found this mix of, like, let's say I do equal parts of zeolite and charcoal and I feel amazing. Do that. Okay. This is anybody who wants to disparage the program because they think that it's one dose for everybody or one thing for everybody. It's their mental capacity is not big enough to handle what we're doing, sadly. The world is not getting smarter. It is what it is. This work requires intelligence. It does. And patience so that you can test things and see how it works. And it also requires the ability to say, even though Dr. Smith said I should eat lots of soluble fiber, and then we have Wardy on the last episode, and she says with the women she talks to, because she does a traditional cooking school, she says a lot of the women she talked to do better on less fiber. Okay, we allow for that. You don't do great on soluble fiber. I've always said that. If you don't feel good on beans, you don't feel like barley and oats are like barley's the black belt of grains. So if you don't do well on it, stop eating it. Watch out or it will kick your ass because it's got an insane amount of fiber in it. Some people are like, dude, I eat barley and my poops are amazing and it just feels so good and it's okay. The lack of people being able to understand that there is no one perfect diet for everyone is a really important thing here. Oh, Ryan says, do you know lead paint was banned because it stopped EMFs and that lead pipes caused 0 problems for centuries? Lead is a minor issue if it's even an issue. We're going to have to disagree on that one. I mean, maybe lead blocks EMF. I have seen a child. Oh, okay. Yeah, Ryan, you can, Joe, you can let Ryan go now. So Karen Etchels says, started non-GMO MSG and noticed that I am completing chores that I have been putting off for months. Without thinking about it, I am just getting caught up on all chores. And she put the heart emoji, heart it or love it. So yeah, excitotoxin, terrible Terrible for people. Sarcasm. Okay. You want to know why I don't believe the lead is hardly toxic thing? I had parents bring me a hair test from their baby. They had moved into a house with lead paint. And just like the stereotype, the kid ate some of the lead paint. And I saw the hair test and the lead was off the charts. And we worked on the lead toxicity in the child, and the child started functioning better and getting better. Do you really think that I'm going to believe randos on the internet telling stories when I've seen it happen? I attacked the lead in this child. Child got better. Lead is toxic. It might block EMFs. That's great. You know, that's great. You can create one disease while you fix another. You could put lead paint in a house and it might block the EMFs, and it might also poison the occupants. Both things can be true. Why do people have such trouble with understanding this? Both things can be true. It could be a poison and help in other ways. This is the thing about minerals. They have multiple functions. Zinc and copper fit into basically the same places in the cells. Copper wreaks havoc and zinc helps. And they have different resistances and different conductivities. And that's part of why they do that. That's why copper makes EMF sensitivity worse and zinc makes it less over time as we fix the imbalance. So anyway, have fun. Go. Ryan, I want to implore you to go show us all that lead is healthy. Go do your own personal experiment. Show us how healthy it is. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll be waiting. Make sure to come back in with your really high lead tests and we can see how you're doing. And that is all sarcasm. I mean, if he wants to do it, if you want to prove something, go do it. Talk is cheap. Come back with high lead tests showing us that you're extra healthy or that you've gotten no new problems from it. Maybe I'll start to entertain that. Go ahead. Okay, P. Miller says, I do very well on beans, but still need to find a way to make the white ones palatable. Well, MSG would help with that a lot. Maybe more MSG. That we've had people tell us that the love your liver diet has become much more enjoyable. In fact, enjoyable now that they're adding MSG to it. So P. Miller, as you know that you tolerate MSG more, you may want to simply add more. Okay. Okay, Austin says, I'm an undertype, can do moderate amounts of recommended supplements, 1.25 grams of buffered niacin, half teaspoon of MSG, 1 full lactoferrin pill, etc., and don't notice much difference after taking all of these. He said, mind you, I slowly titrated up over time to avoid dumping too hard, been on LYL for about a year. Okay. So what would an honest and ethical person say about that? I would say, you know, if you want to test it out, try stopping them for a couple weeks to them. Try stopping. You could stop all of them at once. See if anything gets better or worse. If nothing gets better, well, what I'm going to say is, if you stopped them all at once and you saw that you did feel worse without them, sometimes people don't notice. Well, first of all, actually, let me back up. Sometimes we have what I call the shotgun or the sledgehammer people. Sorry, the sledgehammer people, where they just don't seem to feel anything either way. Or, and there's nothing wrong with this, maybe you feel something, but it's just hard to register it. That can be true too, because these changes can come on very slow. So if you took them out, let's say you took them all out at once for a whole month and you didn't feel any better, or I'm sorry, you didn't feel any worse, you could take less of them or not take them at all. You could. You might also, if you had labs from before, you might also want to run some labs while you're still on them, and then compare that to the labs when you were off of them. Okay. So there's that. You could take them out one at a time for a month and see if you felt any better or worse with or without it. So that's just, so I'm encouraging you, like, so how many places on the internet would you see a guy who sells supplements saying, try it, see if you feel better or worse? If you feel better or worse, then adjust it up or down based on that. Like, it's crazy that some people try to attack me so much when I'm sitting here like, if it doesn't help you, you don't have to take it. You don't have to take any of it. So yeah, I personally, after when we've ran out of lactoferrin in the past, and I was off it just like everybody else because I wasn't going to go buy a different brand. I was just waiting for ours to come back, but it ended up being two or three months, if I recall correctly. I realized that over time, I didn't think I felt worse until a couple months in, and then I went, I am not as happy and I am not as productive as I am when I was on lactoferrin. And then I got it back, and all of a sudden it was like I just felt better and I just got more stuff done. So that was my test, was when sometimes if you ever don't have something and then all of a sudden so let's say it's weeks or months without something, and then you try it again and you're like, wow, I do feel better on that. Then you know. Okay, so I'll say this too. I don't notice much on flush niacin. It doesn't, like, I take a teaspoon a day most days, 2,500 milligrams. I get the flush some days and I don't others. I don't know that. That was one thing when Kelsey told me to do it, I mean, I went up to 20 grams in one day at one point. I'm taking the flush niacin still because I believe that it is helpful. And with what I know about what it does to detox pathways and what I've seen on the long-term research of like the stroke incidents and the heart disease incidents on people who took 1,500 milligrams for 6 years straight, and the stroke incidence was down 15% 9 years after they stopped taking it, and the heart attack incident was down like 25% 9 years after they stopped taking it. I still take it. So yeah. So that's it. Like, if you don't want to take it, like I feel better on the lactoferrin. I noticed that. I feel better on the magnesium lotion. But it takes me, like, if I stop it, it takes me like 3 or 4 days for the lack of it to start where I feel it. Okay. Like potassium, I can feel if I don't get it. And if I like don't eat my bananas and I'm not supplementing it at all, and I go for several days without it, I notice I get a little crampy. Okay. So I put it back in and that all goes away. So you just gotta, do it as it works for you. That is the key thing. You are trying to make it work for you. And again, if you don't find something helps, so I'll tell you this: zinc and selenium and molybdenum, some people feel those quickly. Some people, it's very slow. I guess I could say I'm kind of I'm similar to you in that I don't feel most of the supplements I take. I don't feel benefits. I see the benefits on the testing of like the ones we test for, like the keystone minerals. Lactoferrin, I do feel better on. Flush niacin, I don't notice much. MSG, I literally gained muscle. I'm more muscular than I've ever been at 49 years old. And so to do that was pretty impressive to me. So that was something that I was not expecting. Okay, so I hope that answered it, Austin. Let me get to the other super chats. Okay. Luxury Curated says the Love Your Liver program is great and has helped me in many ways, such as with mental issues, acne, and movement issues. And then somebody asked him, I think Joe might have asked him this, movement issues. Do you mean body coordination or bowel movements? Clarification. And Luxury Curated said body coordination or body movements. So yeah, I need to, after I do the new zeolite article for, if you guys haven't seen it, if you're in the Love Your Liver program, I made an MSG article in there, which summarizes the things to do about it, kind of like I did at the start of this here. So if you want to see that article, that's in the Love Your Liver program. I'm going to type up a calcium article, and then I'm going to type up a zeolite article. And then my plan after that is to get to a big exercise section to help people figure out what I've seen works to, like, if you have, like, if you're really sick, let's say you're basically on, the equivalent of disability, and we've had people who were bedbound do the program, and now they're not, and they're saying they're in the fittest, the best they felt in their life. I think NC Hillbilly on Twitter, he's 74 if I remember correctly, and he says he was, we have several people on a regular basis who say the Love Your Liver program saved their life. That's their statements. Makes me feel really good when I hear that. So let the haters hate. I don't know what we're going to do about it. Okay, so let's go into this. So Luxury Curated said, with that being said, 8 tablespoons of zeolite 9 weeks ago. He said systemic cell level dehydration. Okay, you do need to increase your fluids with zeolite. Any binder that you take, you do need to increase your fluid intake. This is a very important thing. Charcoal can, these things soak up water. For these things to grab onto stuff, they have to grab onto water and the item. Okay. So if you went way up on zeolite and you didn't increase your fluids, that could be part of it. Okay. Tried all electrolytes, water, taurine, glycine, inositol, and betaine/TMJ don't seem to work. Okay. If that's what happened for you, okay. So we go down or we don't do it. MSG actually does help partly, but dehydration returns in full shortly after stopping MSG, and the improvement is partial. I still have to drink like 2 gallons a day. CMP came back normal. Where would I go with this? He's asking plasma amino acid tests. What are the best tests for this? What direction would you point me? How long have you been on the program is my first question. Oh, let me read this testimonial while I'm waiting for that. Caitlin says, just my 2 cents. I heart MSG. Between that and magnesium spray, my sleep is, in all caps, so much better. I've had people say, okay, it's an excitotoxin. Should I not take it by bed? Well, for an excitotoxin, it sure is helping people sleep so much better, isn't it? It is the most prevalent neurotransmitter. Glutamate is the most abundant neurotransmitter in your entire body. The most abundant neurotransmitter in your entire body. It is literal food for your gut cells. Your liver enzymes make glutamate. Your liver makes more liver enzymes to make more glutamate when the liver is under stress. So what do you think if we take in glutamate from the outside and we remove the liver's needing to make more glutamate? Doesn't that mean the liver can then devote its resources to other things? Right? Somebody comes and takes a job off of your plate and you have more time and energy to do other things. That's what's happening. So, let me get these. Oliver Montana says, have we discussed any problems with yeast extract yet? Yes, I did before. The link is in the live chat right now if you want it. So Joe, we need to remember to put that link on the in the notes. Since we don't have a doc today, we'll just put that link in the notes. Okay. Luxury Curated says they've been on the program for 12 months. Okay. Now, the thing you might try is this. I don't know what you're doing about calcium yet, but you may want to watch the calcium live stream. And then it seems that, and this is an important thing to recognize, it seems that the MSG, so you may still need some calcium in your diet, What I'm letting you know, folks, that I didn't know on that episode is that it's very likely that MSG will reduce your calcium needs even further by making the calcium you take in work better. I don't think humans need that much calcium. We have some people who, I started eating calcium foods. I'm not even bothering with it anymore. I didn't feel any better on it. My body didn't say, oh, this is amazing. I've been missing out on this for 7 years. It didn't say that. So if somebody said, well, Dr. Smith, I remember you saying that like you were craving cheese or other things while you were on the program. You want to know what happened? I got on MSG and all the cheese cravings went away because it was a glutamate craving. So don't think that you need, if you're doing tons of calcium and you think that's the answer, but let's say your honeymoon is ending on the calcium and as things are starting to slide down, which we're seeing in certain groups, the MSG will help your whatever calcium you have to work better. As I went over in that show about how the very enzyme that vitamin K activates has a glutamate in it. Weird. So, but yeah, I would, so there could still, calcium is technically luxury curated. Calcium is technically an electrolyte. And that could be part of what your issue is. If you do feel that you need to take some sort of electrolytes with your water, go ahead. I don't feel the need to do that. Some people might. This toxicity problem, these problems take years to fix. So you may still be dealing with this stuff. Oh, P. Miller says people are addicted to potatoes and tomatoes because they want glutamate. Yeah, the nightshades, right? Cheese, dairy. Why do people like I went over this in the show. Wheat has glutamate, especially as the more the wheat is processed, the more glutamate it has. Then we have cheese, then we have tomatoes, then we have meat, then we have potatoes. Think of what fast food of all types in this country sells to us. What are they selling to us? What do a lot of the sauces have in them? They got tomatoes in them. I mean, if they don't outright put tomatoes on things, they make tomato sauces. Sun-dried tomatoes were a big fad for a while. What do sun-dried tomatoes have more of in them? Glutamate, because it's broken down. Okay. JDS, let me get this quick question from JDS. Sorry if you already answered this, but why not take L-glutamine? L-glutamine is literally a glutamate molecule bound to an ammonia. Look it up. Glutamine is glutamate plus an ammonia. So if you take in a bunch of glutamine, which was a big fad, I mean, it's been a fad over and over multiple times in my career. People taking these like 10 grams to 30 grams to, I don't even know how stupid the doses were they got up to it, 50 grams, 100 grams for leaky gut protocols. Could it help at the start? Is glutamine a very abundant amino acid in the body? Yes. What can the body use glutamate to mop up? Your body can take glutamate and bind an ammonia to it, and then it makes glutamine, and it's not free ammonia floating around. Do you see how glutamate could help with your ammonia issues? But do you see how if you take way too much glutamine, if you're going to have tons of ammonia that you've added to the system with the glutamine, that then if your body wants to use that glutamine, it has to break it off, and you're going to raise ammonia levels over time. This is why the glutamine fad comes and goes. Because people do it and they have a honeymoon phase. We love the honeymoon phase, the duration paradox. They feel good in the beginning, and then over time, they've just added a ton of ammonia to their system. And I would bet that their body starts telling them, stop taking this. I've never seen anybody get better on a leaky gut protocol and stay better, especially the ones with tons of glutamine. I remember learning that at school. Like it's so cliched. You have leaky gut, just take tons of glutamine. Is it related to glutamate? Yes. But it's better to just do glutamate. As we saw earlier in this episode, we saw people, somebody said their GERD went away. I believe it was their GERD went away from MSG very quickly. MSG improves your digestive process. Okay, so let me see these. Let me get to the next super chats. Luxury curated. I'm trying to. I don't have the calcium panel. I would do so something you might test if you want to look at calcium in your system. A CMP, which has calcium in it, a serum calcium inside of that test. It's also got, I believe, an alk phos in it. I'm trying to remember, I don't remember the exact list of the things, but you would want to get an ionized calcium or a free calcium, a serum magnesium, and a serum phosphorus. Those would be places to start to see if you had. And then if you want to get 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol, the storage vitamin D, and the 1,25 dihydroxy cholecalciferol, which is the active vitamin D, you could add those to really look at, and then a hair test to look at your hair calcium and your hair magnesium. And then we have like the full picture of a calcium issue, if there is one. Or you could just try eating some, try a day of higher calcium foods that you tolerate. Like, folks, I am not advising calcium supplements. I am not advising sardines. Go look up Joe Rogan, sardines, arsenic. Joe Rogan poisoned himself with arsenic from sardines. We have tons of people who, after they saw my calcium episode, who tried adding some dairy back in, and they were like, no, this sucks. I didn't feel good. They didn't feel good. I tried it. Getting people off dairy is one of the things that we do here that helps so many people. So the only thing I might do for calcium these days is on rare cheat things. If I have some dairy on a cheat day of something, usually when I'm out and it's already on something, or I'll have some figs. 6 organic figs is 200 milligrams of calcium. Done. Did I feel better from it? No. Did I feel worse from it? No. Figs feel good in me, but I don't feel anything magically better. Okay. So, yeah, Oliver, Montana, we went over the yeast extract. That was earlier. Okay, so we have Megan Stevens says breast buds in a 7-year-old, giving her zeolite to grab copper and balance estrogen and selenium to hormone balance. Thyroid support. What are your thoughts? Thank you. High vitamin A and high copper diet in the orphanage for her first 4 years. Man. Wow. That is a tough place to start. And we don't know them. I mean, it doesn't matter, but the mother's history, which is not you, right? You adopted this little girl. So we don't know what happened to the mother. We don't know when we know that the orphanage diet was probably not very good and probably, sadly, cheap food, cheap standard American diet food. It is what it is. Well, I know Megan was one of our testimonials on the MSG episode. So I'm guessing, Megan, you're probably doing the MSG with her foods. Which, if you guys don't remember, the whole reason Kelsey figured out the MSG thing was because of how it affected copper. It was actually part of a bioprotector complex in a study to protect against copper toxicity. And it worked. It was part of a combination of things. It binds to your body will make copper glutamate, and it's fairly insoluble, which means that then your body can get rid of it because it doesn't go back into solution very well. And Kelsey has that research. So I would definitely, Megan. Megan, just so you know, I do want to have you as a guest on the live stream like we had Wardy on. So let's talk about that. Let's figure that out. I know I got a couple episodes planned out ahead, but I would love to have you on. We got some other guests that we want to have on. People seem to like it when I have guests, so I'm trying to do it, and I'm trying to talk less when I have guests on. Sorry. Okay. So let me see. My Telegram jumped here. I would do the MSG. You may, so 7-year-olds. If she tolerates, I would try to move more towards meat. Maybe a bit more on the carnivore side for her because that would be the lowest copper intake that she could have. It's funny, people are like, you need copper, you need vitamin A, and then I'm like, so tell that to all the muscle meat carnivores. They're on, and vitamin C. Vitamin A, vitamin C, and copper. The all muscle meat carnivore is about the lowest diet possible in those things. I don't see massive attacks of vitamin A deficiency or scurvy or what was the other one? Why am I not thinking of it? Oh, eyesight problems in carnivores. It's not happening. Why is it not happening? Maybe we've been misled on nutrition. And what might also be helping carnivores to feel as good as many of them do? What's that amino acid that we're talking about a lot? Oh, it's glutamate. They'd be getting more glutamate from their diet than just about anybody else. Now, there's a trade-off that you do when you cook meat. When you cook meat, you can cut down the taurine. Cooking can degrade taurine, but cooking meat also gets you more glutamate from the cooking itself, but your body can break it down too. Okay. So we are working on, Megan, I mean, there's the liquid zinc that you could try. Obviously there's the liquid selenium and the liquid molybdenum. When you're doing anything liquid, like with kids, you want to generally do, kids aren't going to swallow pills generally, so we're going to do liquids. We're working on our liquid selenium and our liquid molybdenum, and we will eventually have a liquid keystone minerals with niacin. We aren't going to do a liquid keystone with zinc picolinate because it just doesn't work. It tastes like metal, something between the reactions of the things in there. We just can't do it. It just doesn't work. So, okay. I hope that helps, Megan. You can always get in touch with me another way. You know how to get in touch with me. So if we want to work on this further, but those would be, I mean, Kelsey's copper toxicity got a lot better from niacin, but again, kids and the niacin flush, they don't always get along. You know, the kids are like, I don't feel good. And, okay. I can't even get my son to take flush niacin, even though I've shown him the research on nicotinic acid reducing IgE. And in the paper, they were talking about how it relates to anaphylactic shock. And I'm not promising anything about flush niacin anaphylaxis, but I do know that allergies in general are a toxicity state, and flush niacin reduces toxicity. So it would make sense that it reduces the episodes of extreme allergy attacks, if you will call them that. So, yeah, so I would just work on, first would be obviously the diet. So working on, okay. So she said, yes, I'll keep on keeping on, lots of beef, thumbs up, MSG, etc. Yes. I would try to, you know, if you're going to do a mixed diet, wait, what happened to my audio? We're good. Okay. I would try to fix the diet. So obviously you know all about low vitamin A eating. If you don't know, Megan's website is eatbeautiful.net. She's a huge fan of the Love Your Liver program. We're a huge fan of her. And she did that. Like we said, she was one of our MSG beta testers, and she did great. Her testimonials in the MSG episode. So yeah, I would work on the diet, copper, obviously, and low vitamin A. So that would obviously meat is the lowest vitamin A, lowest copper. And then if you're going to make choices of, for beans or grains, you know, I would incorporate trying to make them less colorful, right? So white beans are my favorite bean. I finally just went into the white beans and the Great Northern beans. And I think Great Northern beans actually taste kind of meaty. And then the MSG and the salt makes them, it's amazing. Like if you guys have not tried the MSG on your cowboy diet or your prison diet or whatever, you need to. You will enjoy it more. And here, let me read another testimonial from somebody, how the MSG is helping somebody else here. Stacy said, doing a single blind test with MSG on my boyfriend's LYL meals. He's big into weightlifting. I'm curious what this will do for him. I'm falling asleep quickly and feel rested the next day. So we have another woman sleeping better and feeling more rested the next day. Excitotoxin. Oh no. Right? It's helping people. We have all been starving for glutamate for a very long time. Now, eating shitty food with MSG, eating fatty foods or shitty foods with MSG is a bad idea. Just like we talk about doing flush niacin, like all the case studies, all 8 case studies in 70 years on flush niacin, the people were on other meds, or one guy was on yohimbine and he got a new girlfriend. So he's dosing yohimbine super high because he's an older guy and he's got a younger girlfriend and he wanted to, perform. Yohimbine is known to be liver toxic, but of course it's the flush niacin. Okay. But anyway, they were all on meds or liver toxic herbs, and they blamed the flush niacin instead of the meds. When the smarter thing to do that some people still don't get is whenever you're on a med and over time you get a negative symptom or a negative side effect, the first thing you do is you look up the med and you see if it's a side effect of the med. Just because you got along with a med for 3 years, fine, doesn't mean it won't cause you problems as it accumulates. Or one of the theories on why certain medications cause long-term problems is that they slowly deplete certain nutrients. So a nutrient deficiency isn't going to show up right away. It may show up 3 years later. What is the problem? It's the med. So always, if you are ever having problems in your health and you've been on a med for a long time and you don't know what's going wrong, the first thing you should suspect is the med. It doesn't mean you have to get off of it. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying get off of it or don't. I'm saying suspect the med. Always first. It's pharma poison. It's going to cause problems at some point. Okay. Allie McBeal, another dairy, a negative dairy testimonial. Allie McBeal said, queso fresco daily made my body odor come back. I had no, quote, smell for a year prior. Dairy is nasty stuff, full of sulfur, full of calcium, full of vitamin A, full of vitamin D. This is the typical thing. People are putting dairy back in. I put it back in. I got so snotty for weeks. I only had it in for like 10 days. I was doing some cheese and I was trying a couple supplements. Kelsey and I both got pretty jacked from the supplements, considering how little we took, and it lasted for weeks. So no, calcium supplements, you are playing a little bit with fire. So somebody asked, what is the best type of calcium supplement to take if you have to? So first of all, disclaimer, if you take any calcium supplement and you get messed up, I'm saying I don't trust them at all. The research looks bad on them. So if you choose to take it and you have problems, do not come back and say, well, this is the one you said to take, Dr. Smith. I didn't say to take it. We're trying to find, if you want the least potentially damaging one, I'm going to say probably calcium lactate. It is the only acidifying calcium out there. Then some people have tested out, if you wanted a quote unquote more natural calcium, you're looking at pearl powder. Ground up pearls, literally. That's what most calcium supplements are. They're ground up minerals, like limestone. Calcium carbonate is mostly limestone. Now, if you're taking hydroxyapatite, which is basically ground up bone, effectively, there may be quite a bit of lead in there. So you better be careful. But you take it, buyer beware. The risk is on you. Don't come back and say, I said to take it. I would much rather you did 12 figs in a day to get 400 milligrams of calcium than mess around with dairy or supplements. If you want to do mineral water and you can find one that you know has tested clean, I suggest a still mineral water so you're not drinking all the carbon dioxide. I don't trust the carbon dioxide thing at all. I don't think the bubbles are good for people. And as Kelsey has gone over, if you're taking calcium and carbon dioxide together, it's going to react and create calcium carbonate in your system, which is what most of the studies show the biggest problems are with. So, yeah, not gonna. Mineral water. No, I do not suggest drinking tap water. Ever. Straight out of the tap. No. Don't cook your food in that. Don't drink it. Somebody wants to say, well, it needs minerals in it. Then you figure out your minerals from food. You do not drink straight up poison tap water just because it's got calcium in it. That's ludicrous. Long term, you're accumulating the fat soluble toxins that are in the water. And yes, there are fat soluble toxins in the water. And then you're getting the toxic minerals that may be in the water. Okay. Oh, wait, here, LeBrad Pass added, dropping in, can't wait to catch up later, have been adding MSG sprinkled into food. Working well. Great research. Some of the haters will say that I plant these people. They're like working with me and they're going to come in and say good things because I'm like paying them or whatever. What a joke. Seriously. Desperate. Y'all are so desperate. Look at all the positive feedback we're getting from MSG. Some people would cut off their nose to spite their face because they're just angry with me. They're really angry. Very angry. Why wouldn't you let us say mean things about you on your own forum? We're angry. Okay. You can go say it on Grant's forum. Go have fun there. Okay. Let me see. Let me mark everybody's. So we got those. Okay, let me see. What time are we at? 11:50. Oh my gosh, we're almost at 2 hours. Oh, and Megan said it sounds great. I'm assuming she means about coming on the live stream. Yes, definitely. Kelsey and I were talking about people we wanted to have, we thought I should have on the live stream, and we got a little list now. Dylan Black says, I've read something about the heart being able to use glutamate as an energy substrate or at least activating the Krebs cycle. Well, I didn't want to do a ton of research. But we'll see what we can pull up quickly. Wait. Let's see what I can get here. Oh, I think I need the whole paper. Let me get that. Let me see if Elsevier is sharing this paper. Oh, what is that? Oops. 85%. Don't you hate it? They give me this AI summary and I looked at it and I'm trying to find the paper where it says it and you can't find, they mention 85% and then you search the paper for 85 and you can't, there's nothing there. Okay, let me see. Well, that's not very helpful now, is it? Well, just because we're on the live stream, I'm gonna just use this little AI summary. I'm not fact checking it right now. Okay, I cannot tell you if it's hallucinating right now. I'm just gonna go over this because this is what Dylan brought up. Okay, so I want you to understand, glutamate shows up more. Your body will desperately make glutamate in times of danger, of risk. Glutamate is your safety mechanism. So if you're seeing more glutamate in places, it means there's a problem. It doesn't mean that glutamate caused the problem. It means there's a problem. Okay, there's a problem already present. Here we go. In ischemic conditions, as in not enough blood or oxygen, glutamate degradation contributes significantly to anaerobic energy production, supplying approximately 20% of the ATP generated via substrate level phosphorylation during flow deprivation. So they stopped the blood. And then they're seeing your body is breaking down glutamate to make ATP, the energy that runs everything. Okay? Glutamate will save your life. If you take glutamate from the outside, it's relieving your body of the stress of having to make it. See how all these people are feeling more relaxed and they're sleeping better and their mood is better? Here, let's go down here. This was the thing I was looking for. Glutamate also serves as a Krebs cycle precursor in the human heart, with about 85% of the glutamate taken up being released as carbon dioxide, confirming its metabolic role. Seems that it's pretty important for the heart now, isn't it? So that's all on that one, Joe. So yes, thank you for pointing that out, Dylan. Yes, the heart does use glutamate. Glutamate is an energy substrate for your body. It is. Maybe they just lied to us about it. Okay. Let's see. What was the next one? Okay. So let me see this. So JDS, this is a good question, especially since we're talking about the ferritin on the prison diet. How reliable is ferritin as a measurement of iron storage / overload? My ferritin is in the normal range, but I have muscle pain / insomnia and sore joints that get worse after eating high iron foods like steak. Okay. It's a good question. The simplest explanation here, which always sounds kind of silly. I mean, think of how many times I've said this. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Then don't do that. Could it be, like we had somebody on a couple weeks ago, asked a question, and they said, like they went and they donated blood. They had a high ferritin. They went and they donated blood and they felt great. Like their knee pain, bilateral knee pain, which is a classic iron overload symptom, felt better for like 3 days. And then it came back because their liver had more iron to get rid of it. And it slips out into the blood and then it just goes back to normal. Now, each time this person donates blood, their improvement will likely last longer and they'll generally feel better over time as they do this more regularly. Now, is that the fix to this problem? No, it's not the fix. But if somebody eats, I had an elderly couple who came in to me and they both, like when they didn't eat red meat as much, their ferritin would come down to like, I don't know, 110 or something. But then they thought they were like trying to please me and they started adding. So people who try to do things to please me because they think that that's what I want them to do. I don't want you to do that. I want you to do what your body's telling you to do. Not like, well, Dr. Smith says this is great, so I should use it. That may not be the case for you. So, okay. So when they'd eat red meat more or at every meal almost, their ferritin would go up to like 220, 230, both of them. It's like the whole thing where people, as they're married longer, they start to look alike, right? Their ferritin would move up together. And then I asked her, I said, this was one of the first times I started realizing that not everybody does real well on red meat. She said to me, she said, Doc, do I have to eat that much red meat? She's like, I don't feel that great when I eat it. And I was like, well, thank you for telling me that. No, you don't have to eat it. I was like, what did you do? And I think she went from like 2/3 red meat and 1/3 chicken to like, or she had gone up from like 1/3 to 2/3 of her diet, of their diet. I was like, no, switch back. Like, and then we saw their ferritin was lower when they were doing more like poultry and less red meat. And then they switched and we saw the ferritin go higher with less poultry. And then they switched again and it went, oh, sorry. It went back down. Sorry about that. My virtual camera decides to sometimes, take my hand signals as what to do. The pinching, I guess, makes it zoom in. So anyway, if you don't feel good when you eat red meat, folks, this is a very, very important thing. The so-called detox setback or other things that can happen can be because people try to do, as an example, they could be because people try to do that diet. And that may not work for them. It doesn't mean that vitamin A is not a toxin. It just means that that diet design and however they implement it isn't right for them. Some people don't get along great with red meat. Okay. Like there's a lot of people out there who simply seem to think that like this diet is red meat. And that's it. I never said that. That's stuff that people made up. There's lots of men who do well on red meat. Men tend to do better with red meat than women do. And I'll tell you, ferritin, once ferritin goes up, it affects women more strongly in a negative way than it does men. That's it. But so all I would say, JDS, is just, oh, you also added, let me see, what else did you add? Well, since you did the super chat, I'll just hit your other questions. Are tinned cannellini beans okay if they are rinsed thoroughly? I'm just going to say this very simply. I think dry beans are always preferable to canned beans because whatever's in the can is potentially in the beans. Okay. Main thing I would say. So obviously with dried beans, you got to soak them. Soaking your beans for at least 20 minutes. And the warmer the soaking water is, the more impact you get. So even if you soaked your beans for like 20 minutes, if you used boiling water to pour in there to soak them in, it's going to do a lot more work in the soaking than just room temperature water. But still use tap water use clean water because you don't want those beans rehydrating with crappy tap water. Okay, so dried beans that have been soaked for a minimum of 20 minutes. And like I said, hotter water will do more work than room temperature water. Sorry, I got somebody calling me right now that I really should take that call, but I can't because we're live. Anyway, the tinned, you don't ever want to eat the bean juice in the can. Don't ever eat the bean juice. That's a problem. That's going to have all the stuff from the canning in it. And then it's like the beans have been basically soaked in the canned water. So we want to get rid of the soaking water and we want to get rid of the water that's associated with the can. So always pour that off. Don't consume it and then rinse the beans. And that's about and then try to, you may not be able to rinse the beans with super clean water, but the beans are already rehydrated and you're just rinsing them and getting the water out. If you can rinse them with clean water, then that's great. So that's dried beans are always preferable to canned beans. You don't need to soak canned beans. They've already been soaked, but definitely rinse canned beans and try to make sure they're organic. And cannellini beans are fine. Yes. So I hope that helps. That's just, we're all living. If you're living in a city and you're not off grid and like growing all your own food and doing all this stuff, you have to deal with what you can get. It's what we live in. Like, it's only going to get harder. I'm sorry. This is the way it is. I don't have a way out of this. So we deal with what we can do. Okay. So I hope that helps. Let me see. Yeah, we got to stop on the super chats. Okay. No more super chats, please. Let me see. Where was that window? Let me see. Okay. Okay. So Dagmar, if you didn't know, Dagmar and Beth Martins are starting their own podcast. Dagmar, if you want to mention it in the live chat, go ahead. There we go. So Dylan Black says the modernist pantry. I think it's Modern Pantry, or is it Modernist Pantry? I might have made a mistake. That's supposed to be non-GMO. I don't see anything on the bag that says non-GMO. If you go to their website, it may not be on the bag, but I've seen it on the Amazon ad, and I think I've seen it on their website. So yeah, Beth was saying thank you for the shout out. Yeah, so please send a link to that podcast, Beth, and then make sure to post it in the comments so people can find it later. But yeah, they said it on their website, I believe, and they said it on an Amazon page, but it may not be on the bag. Okay. Sam says, I need absolutely ridiculous potassium just to feel normal. Why? This does get better. I don't know why. It may be, okay, so the things that you could try for it, if you know that you need absolute, like ridiculous potassium, whatever that means. Like some people were trying to say, I needed ridiculous potassium, and I realized what I was actually taking in, and it was probably like 3,000 milligrams a day. It's not even the RDA. They were trying to use that against me. It's like, I'm not even getting the RDA. And I was saying that I felt like I needed a lot of potassium. It's more that like when I didn't get my potassium, I didn't feel good. Oh no. So, I would potentially look into calcium, but again, remember MSG helps with calcium metabolism. So first I would get your MSG. I would work on the copper toxicity and maybe copper foods if you're eating them. Vitamin A toxicity. Vitamin A blocks potassium channels. Copper just depletes potassium. Obviously, hopefully, if you're on the program, you're not taking vitamin D supplements, which also deplete potassium. Caffeine depletes potassium. Anything that's a stimulant is going to deplete potassium. Okay. So your body like basically needs potassium to make energy. And so if you're depleting it with something, even though it may give you energy short term, all you nicotine people or caffeine people out there taking stimulants is going to deplete your potassium over time. Toxins deplete potassium over time. Look at vitamin A and copper. So I would get your potassium first, work on copper stuff, which there's a lot of stuff that we talk about in the Love Your Liver program about copper. Consider looking at your calcium intake, but also make sure you get the MSG going first. That would be what I would look into. Okay, so Beth and Dagmar's podcast is called Yin, or wait, is that what it's called? Yin on the Rocks, episode 2 is what they did, and then they have the link on YouTube to it. So they are big fans of the program, and we like supporting them. Beth had me on her, or we did a live stream here together. I'm trying to remember. I think we did it on both channels, so you can see that one too. That's the title. Oh, that's okay. That's the title of it, Beth says. So, okay. Let me see. Oh, Stacy was saying she gave it to her boyfriend, and she said, not an MSG plant, LOL. Using a tiny sprinkle of MSG as a sensitive person. I've been gone for a while and got sick/toxic again, so here I am, back and ready to buckle down. Okay, I'll hit on that real quick. People will say, okay, Dr. Smith, how long will it take me to detox? Well, we don't know. It's when you feel better in the ways you want to feel again. And secondly, they'll say, can I go back to eating all this stuff when I'm done? I understand the question. I understand where it's coming from, because most people, they think they love these foods and they want to be normal again. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing is, so if an alcoholic asks the same question, if an alcoholic says, okay, so after I quit alcohol for 10 years, can I go back to being a drunk? Can I go consume alcohol again? Can you? Sure. Yeah, absolutely you can. You can do whatever you want. What do we tend to see to people who go back to their addictive compounds, whatever they are? They tend to fall even deeper back into them, even faster and harder. We've almost all probably seen this. Somebody quits something for a while, and then when they go back in, they go deeper and harder, and they get worse. And hopefully, this is where we hear a lot of ODs on like hard drugs. They go back to it and they do what they used to do, and they're dead. Well, hopefully, we're not dealing with that too much, but some people are dealing with that. That's like out of the wheelhouse of what we're doing. But some people, they go back to alcohol, or they go back to cigarettes, or they go back to coffee or caffeine, and they find themselves very quickly surpassing what they used to do in terms of the amount of it. And it probably does even more damage. I don't know why. Hopefully, what they see very quickly, and I know I'm this type of person. How do I know this? I'm this type of person. But you can watch the dopamine episode where I talk about that stuff. Like, I'm very susceptible to this pattern. So the key thing is that they avoid it, but could they go back to it? Sure. But for whatever reason, the addiction comes back stronger. The problems come back even faster. And hopefully they realize it, and they realize that that's even more of a reason that they need to quit it and stay away from it for good and be done with it. You may notice if you've quit something in the past, this is what I've noticed. Every time I quit something, especially like caffeine in my past, it would be easier to quit the next time. I was more confident. It's called exposure therapy. Things you do more often, as you do them, you get better at them. They become less stressful. The more you quit something, the easier quitting gets. So if you don't quit something the first time, do not despair. You just got practice. And you can quit again. Yeah, Joe just put up the dopamine thing in the chat. It is episode 162. So yeah, can people go back to eating vitamin A? Can they go back to eating copper? Can they go back to eating fish and shellfish with mercury in them? Sure, you can do whatever you want. What you'll probably notice is that because you're now cleaner, less toxic, you will feel, so you're normally feeling better on a regular basis when you're less toxic. You go back to eating these toxic foods, and very quickly you start to notice, ooh, I don't feel good. Ooh, the symptoms are slowly creeping back on me. I don't like this. And then eventually you go, I guess you need to avoid things as much as you need to. I've talked about this gentleman before. He is my longest term client. I think he started working with me maybe like 2010. So 15 years he's been a client of mine. He was a patient of mine when I had an office and I was seeing local people, but now that we're all virtual online, he's a client. He says now, and he was the guy with the GERD that I couldn't fix, and he told me later that he grew up on an orange tree farm and he used to go eat tons of oranges, and he used retin A. He didn't tell me these things when I first got into the vitamin A toxicity stuff. He just told them to me later because he had seen me, as many practitioners do, go through these different phases of, everything is caused by this. Everything is now caused by this. Oh, wait, now it's candida. Oh, wait, now it's toxic metals. Oh, wait, now it's this. I went through that same phase too. And do I think everything is vitamin A toxicity now? No. But let me tell you something. Let's say somebody's doing the prison diet and they're using tap water to make their rice and beans on a daily basis. Let's say that tap water has lead in it every day, and they're drinking tap water every day. They could be on a low vitamin A diet and yet slowly become lead toxic. Okay. Let's just say somebody was eating beans every day. Rice every day. Not only are they making it with tap water, potentially with lead in it, but they're not doing anything about the arsenic that is basically endemic to rice. They're not doing anything to prep the rice. They just put the water in the rice and cook it and eat it. Could they slowly develop arsenic poisoning over time? Yeah. It's in the literature. So let's say somebody was doing rice and beans on a daily basis, making it with tap water that has lead in it, and they're not doing anything to prevent the arsenic in the rice from becoming an issue. Could they slowly reduce their vitamin A toxicity and maybe improve certain symptoms while very slowly they're accumulating heavy metal toxicity that is affecting them in other ways? You can create a disease while you're fixing another one. You following me here? This is over and over and over and over. Does the prison diet approach talk about arsenic toxicity? No. Do they talk about tap water toxicity? No. They trust tap water, I guess. They're drinking it. Do we talk about this stuff? Yeah, we do. So we tend to avoid those things. Okay. Let me hit on one thing. Somebody was asking about dates. Kelsey's very suspicious of dates. She always has been. Dates, I had a buddy who was doing lots of dates. He was like, I'm Turkish. They're like my culture and heritage. And he was eating a lot of them. And he realized at one point, I was like, dude, they're so high in sugar. Now I know that they're pretty darn high in copper too. And nobody seems to be able to control themselves when they're eating dates. They just eat too many of them, which is not a good sign to me. So I am not a fan of dates. If you're having them once in a while, like that's fine. But if you're putting dates in your routine every day, I think the sugar in them is a bit too much, and the copper is definitely too much. I've seen, my buddy told me, he said he blamed the dates for why he didn't make progress for, I think it was 6 months or a year. He's like, he said to me when he stopped the dates, he's like, I finally started making progress and detoxing again. So that's my thing with dates. I don't trust them. The government gives away free dates as part of the food programs. Does that tell you they're a good thing or not? Gold 590 says, what else does MSG detox besides copper? Tried it, lots, heavy headache, tiredness symptoms. Then it faded, not turned off, happy and curious. Well, I don't know. Gold 950. Did you hear me talk about how if you get symptoms from it, do less, stick with it, just do less. And the symptoms if you do less, the symptoms should be less. Always take it with food. Oh, I forgot to say that. Do not take MSG on an empty stomach. Take it with food. I mean, almost all foods have some amount of protein in them, but it's best to take with your protein foods. I told people this on the MSG episode. I took a teaspoon of MSG in water, or it was basically away from food. There was probably some other things in the water, like some niacin and whatever. And I took it on an empty stomach, and I got a bit of a head rush. Was it a headache? No, I got a bit of a head rush. And I think I was talking to Kelsey on Telegram or whatever, and she's like, well, I was telling her I had this head rush from it. And I think she asked if I took it with food or not. And I was kind of like, I didn't want to admit it. Because, I'm still a human. I'm like, I should have taken it with protein food. Mike Roberto told me to take it with protein food. Kelsey told me to take it with protein food. And I did it that way. And I got the little head rush. I have not had that since, but I've taken it on an empty stomach since. I don't recommend it. You just think of, I'll get to your stuff in a sec, Gold 590. It's just what it does. I want you to think about MSG and the Asian populations eating mostly rice and this other stuff. And even India, like MSG makes whatever protein is in your food go further. Your body turns, I forget how many amino acids, can turn so many amino acids into glutamate, including the branched chain amino acids. Some of the ones that they talk about for helping to grow muscle the most. Your body turns branched chain amino acids into glutamate. So let's say branched chain amino acids have their whole list of functions. Glutamate has its whole list of functions. You take glutamate and your body goes, oh, we don't need to break down the branched chain amino acids, so they can be used for other stuff like muscle, like building muscle, which is what we're hearing from a lot of people saying. They're like, my body composition is getting better. I'm getting more muscle and less fat without changing much. They may still be exercising. It makes your protein go further. So think of it that way. The likelihood of having some sort of reaction to MSG, especially in the beginning, is increased if you take it by itself. Nobody says to do that anywhere. Everywhere in the research, it says take it with food, preferably protein foods. That is the way it's supposed to be eaten. It's glutamate. It's part of a protein. What you're trying to do with supplements is you're trying to make the food better. We don't want to take things that we take generally away from food. You're doing that so you get a drug-like effect. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're taking it away from food so you get a drug-like effect. So you absorb it, so there's not food around to slow it down. It's like people, eating bread before they go drink so they can not get as drunk. And then you go, well, why are you drinking then? What, like, if you're taking something to drink but not get, but you think it's a poison, so you're trying to not get, like, how about if you just don't put the poison in? There's an idea. Sorry, Baptized in Fire said beta glucans remove microplastics. And Dylan Black added, yeah, that new study on beta glucans and microplastics was super interesting. Where do we get beta glucans from? Oh, oats and barley, some of our favorite grains. They're removing microplastics. And I see people on Twitter saying, you can't detox microplastics ever. They're wrong. They find microplastics in the bile and the gallbladder. How would they get there? Unless the liver put them in the bile and they got into the gallbladder. So that means the liver is detoxing them and putting them into the bile. And then beta glucan soluble fibers adsorb bile that has toxins in it. So then you could poop out more of the microplastics. What a concept. Hey, Toxic Bile Paradigm. Nice to see you again today. JDS added lactoferrin also removes microplastics. I haven't seen that research, but I'll have to incorporate that one too. So gosh, these things that we're using have research on them helping to detox microplastics. And yet there are people out there bad mouthing it because a couple of people didn't follow the instructions and didn't feel good. I'm sorry. There's a risk of taking anything. You might eat, eggs and dairy are the two most allergic foods to humans out there. The two most allergic foods. So what are the foods then that people have the biggest risk of reacting to? Eggs and dairy. And don't tell me if it's raw dairy or if they're farm-raised, pasture-raised egg. No, it's not. The toxins in them is worse. It's the nature of them. Vitamin A is a big part of it. I've had people who tell me lecithin, like they took phosphatidylcholine or lecithin and they had major reactions to it. Well, it stores toxins in your liver. You need it to store fat-soluble toxins in your liver. You need phosphatidylcholine to store toxins in your liver, literally. So, let's see. Oh, okay. So Gold 950 was adding after the comment, I'm not turned off. I know it's getting rid of stuff. Ate it with beef. I'm experienced with detox. Just wondering about what it's dumping. The big families of toxins associated. Okay. So Kelsey has a paper where it was showing, like, what do we have now? What one of the testimonials we had. Why is this not moving up? There we go. Okay. On how glutamate binds to all sorts of minerals, metals. And what we found in this research, we'll go over, this will be in the dorky episode. Okay. So I know somebody was asking, like, when is the dorky MSG episode going to come out? Kelsey and I just hung out for like 8 days together and didn't get much work done those days. So I'm gonna give her some time to get the MSG episode together that she wants to go over. But yeah, what it does is it actually, if you look up like copper glutamate, the glutamate actually makes a ring and it holds the metal at the top. So if you were thinking of like a diamond ring, it's like the copper's at the top and then there's the ring that goes down. When it binds to these things, certain minerals or toxic metals or minerals that it binds to are more or less soluble than others. The less soluble it is when it binds, the easier it is for you to excrete because it doesn't go back into solution. So then it's just think of like a little chunk floating around that then your body can get rid of. Whereas the things that are soluble, they can stay. Well, as an example, when glutamate binds zinc and when glutamate binds copper. Oh, come on. Copper is I got to stop making the little pinch finger. Copper glutamate is way less soluble than zinc glutamate, which is funny because as H. Milowick said in his testimonial on the glutamate episode, he actually flip-flopped. One of the things we want is your zinc level in your blood to be higher than your copper level. That's one of the first things that we try to get. And we want your hair zinc to be at a certain level relative to your copper on the hair test. Well, on his blood tests, he was not supplementing zinc. He took MSG. He had all sorts of benefits from it. And you want to know what happened on his blood tests? He was not taking zinc, but his zinc used to be below his copper, and his copper was higher, and they flip-flopped without him taking zinc. Glutamate's the thing, man. Why does nobody sell it in supplements? It's crazy. Or if you go and you look up magnesium glutamate, or magnesium pyrrolidone, you'll find it's sold as a brain supplement. Wait, that's weird. Why would magnesium pyrrolidone be sold as a brain helping supplement if glutamate is an excitotoxin? Why would they be doing studies on dementia patients, giving them MSG and finding these dementia patients who should be the most susceptible to an excitotoxin, if that was real, and they're doing better on their cognitive scores? They're eating better. They're doing better on their cognitive scores, and they've already got dementia. Shouldn't they be the most susceptible? The people out there that are saying glutamate's bad, they're saying, well, if you're healthy, it might help you, but if you're sick, it won't. These are elderly people with dementia. We just destroy these arguments so easily. It's sad. So, but Kelsey will go over that paper where it has the other minerals that they've done the binding and the solubility studies on. But I don't have it in front of me right here. And I want to leave some stuff for Kelsey to go over because she's the one who brought all of this great information to you guys. So yeah. Oh, Sam says, thanks. Do you mean too much calcium or too low? I mean, watch the calcium episode and try getting some more food calcium from sources that agree with you. That's what I mean. Calcium and potassium have a relationship. Do we have it all sussed out? No, we don't. But it is possible that on a really strict love your liver program where people, let's say, aren't doing white beans and they aren't doing figs and they're not doing some of the lower vitamin A foods that do have a decent amount of calcium in them, that there may be a relative calcium deficiency that then you could fix, and then the MSG will help you to hold on to it better and to metabolize it better and use it better. So, because that's what we're seeing we're seeing stuff get better in many ways. And this is only, so I want you guys to realize these testimonials in the live chat. We only did that show 2 weeks ago. Look at how many positive testimonials we have in the chat. Watch the testimonials in the MSG episode. That was people after a couple of months, and those testimonials were like big. Lots of things improved. So yeah, Joe, I got to that one. Yeah. So that is all the super chats, I believe. Okay, Bert asks, is taking glutamic acid, does it have the same benefit as MSG? Okay. Well, if and when we come out with any glutamate supplements in the future, which is possible. Oh, here's a funny thing. Let me tell you something. When we were learning all about glutamate, Kelsey found that in our magnesium lotion, there's something called sodium PCA in it. Do you know what sodium PCA is? It's pyrrolidone. Do you know that PCA, or pyrrolidone, is referred to, the term for it, it's a 3-letter term, NMF in humans, natural moisture factor. Natural moisture factor. Glutamate is critical for the moisture status of your skin. I asked my formulator about it, not Kelsey, but the cosmetics formulator who helped us design the magnesium lotion, and formulate it over the 18 months it took to get it fully right. And he was like, oh yeah, we use PCAs all the time. They don't call it glutamate. They call it sodium PCA or magnesium PCA, natural moisture factor. And then they also sell it magnesium pyrrolidone as a nootropic. Are you seeing all the ways that there's evidence of this being good for you? So, glutamic acid, on to glutamic acid. Depending upon how much, okay, so the glutamic acid is not going to have the taste of sodium glutamate. Like the mineral that binds to glutamate, the flavor changes. Like the most savory flavor is going to be MSG, sodium bound to glutamate. One sodium, monosodium, one sodium bound to one glutamate. Glutamic acid, we're suggesting MSG because, first of all, it's very easy to get. Second of all, it is already what we call buffered. We talk about buffered niacin. Now, why are we going to make only as we go on in the future, why are we going to make any of our higher dose niacin products all buffered from the beginning? Because, as I told you about user error, 70% of people will screw up any one task that they're given. Well, we saw too many people screwing up the buffering of niacin, including some of the biggest detractors of niacin out there. They didn't read the instructions. They thought they were smarter than the instructions. They over buffered. They made themselves too alkaline, and they got issues, and they blame the niacin. Can't fix stupid. I'll never be able to fix stupid. So, but user error is rampant. So, L-glutamic acid is not buffered. So if you are taking a lot of it, you're taking in an unbuffered acid. We are not recommending that because of what we've seen with the nicotinic acid and people's inability to buffer it correctly. So if we make glutamate or pyrrolidone products in the future, they will all be buffered before we even send them out the door. So if you do glutamic acid unbuffered and you have issues, it could be from the acidity part of it. We would just rather make it all very simple for you, rather than you having to worry about being a chemist in your kitchen to get it right. Like potassium glutamate is not very flavorful. We'll put it that way. Sodium glutamate, if you're going to add it to your food, which is what we suggest, MSG is the way to go. But is it okay? Is glutamic acid glutamate? Yes. We just think there's the optimal way to take it. And then there's concessions, there's things that there's less optimal ways to take it too. Okay. Susan says, wondering if glutamic acid may offer the body more options for metabolism relative to MSG. MSG just comes in when it touches water, it turns into sodium and glutamate separate. So they're not going to go through, just like I tell people, you have no spot in your body for magnesium bisglycinate, right? When you say magnesium bisglycinate, people are like, wait, is that different from magnesium glycinate? And just like people are like, wait, monosodium glutamate? Is that different from sodium glutamate? No, it's the same thing. Magnesium bisglycinate means there's two glycine molecules on one magnesium. That's it. I don't know why they say it sometimes and why they don't otherwise. But monosodium glutamate sure sounds scarier than sodium glutamate, doesn't it? It's all part of the mind tricks they want to play on you. But yeah, so there's no special pathway for MSG. That's why I'm saying, like, in soy sauce or in tamari, you're taking in, or coconut aminos, you're taking in sodium separately and glutamate because it's in solution. MSG in solution is sodium and glutamate. So there's no separate pathways. Now, if you want to mess around with your electrolytes other ways, you can do that. But once it's in water, it's just glutamate and sodium. Okay, Sergio, sorry, Bert said, thank you very much for answering the question. You're welcome, Bert. Gold 590 says, do you know the chemical mechanism or pathway that breaks nicotine down to niacin? You mentioned Kelsey calculated 30 grams from a pack of cigarettes. I did a thread on Twitter about it. It's simply oxidation. Nicotine oxidizes, breaks down to nicotinic acid in the body. And then also fire, heat. Heat is an oxidizer. So when people are doing nicotine in vapes, or I'm sorry, nicotine in pouches, they're not getting nicotinic acid out of it because there's no heat, or gums. So they're not going to get the benefits out of it. And what are they pushing now? What do they hear RFK Jr. push? RFK Jr. pushed vapes and pouches of nicotine to people. And I'm just like, Big Tobacco's marketing budget really went up lately. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let me get to this one. But the chemical mechanism is its oxidation. That's I don't know. She could potentially cover the math that she did on that. Yeah, but it's not much. It wasn't 30 grams from a pack of cigarettes. No, it was like milligrams. It was 30 milligrams. Definitely not 30 grams. Sergio said, I felt unstoppable when I put MSG on my food. One question, Doc, why does it mess up my sleep? Thank you. Okay, so we have a different response here. Well, first of all, Sergio, you felt better, which is a good sign. You also had it mess up your sleep. I would say for now, like let's say, okay, so we have the same thing. Zinc can sometimes mess up people's sleep. What do we think the zinc is doing when that happens? Well, the zinc is stirring up copper, and that copper is what's causing your sleep problem. So it's still around. Well, did we just talk about MSG potentially detoxing copper? Yeah. So what I tell people with the zinc thing is I say, well, if you can take the zinc in the morning with a meal, then that little stir and you feel fine with it otherwise, then hopefully that stimulant effect will be gone by the time you go to bed. Okay, so MSG could be the same thing. So Sergio, I would say, first of all, you're going to do less than what you were doing before. Second, start with it in the morning. And if you do less and you do it only in the morning and you see if it doesn't negatively affect your sleep, then over time, as you are able to, as your body adapts to it and you clean out whatever was keeping you awake, then you can take more and then you can feel unstoppable all the time. Okay. So, okay. Uzman's talking about MSG, I'm assuming. Uzman Javed said, first week I could hardly get out of bed in the morning. I slept so deeply that it felt like the same sleep you get when you're a teenager. Do you guys want better sleep? Oh, he said, vivid dreams, memorable also. Actually, we've heard this. I think this was in one of the testimonials on the MSG episode. People dream better, and the dreams are not like valerian root dreams, which are like murdering dwarves. Go look up valerian root dreams. Like they are violent, bloody, nasty things. Like that's messing with your brain chemistry. MSG, people are saying they're dreaming more and better, and they're calmer dreams, if you will. Yeah. So Sean Linsky said, don't eat nightshades. That's true. That's true. But why do people want nightshades? We kind of went over this earlier. Potatoes and tomatoes are a huge source of glutamate in people's diets. So why do they want them, even though they may actually realize that they don't feel good on them, but their body keeps asking for it because it knows that they can get glutamate from it? Why do people want to eat at restaurants? Wheat, cheese, tomatoes, meat, and what was the other one? There was one more. Anyway, and all the MSG, the potatoes. American fast food is just glutamate city, which is why if you actually notice, if you go eat, and some people actually told me that their digestion got better when they ate restaurant food. And then, so people who don't, let's say, know as much as I do, they look at that and they go, And before I knew about MSG, I was kind of like, I don't understand that. And they're like, I don't understand it either. So I would admit, I don't know everything. I'd be like, I have no idea why that happens. And they'd be like, it does. They're like, I poop better. I feel better. And I go, okay. And now we know it's likely glutamate, that they weren't getting as much out of their day-to-day diet as they would out of one concentrated sitting at a restaurant. So, oh, here we go. I'm just going to read these last ones and then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay. So John Linsky added about the nightshades. He said, I have zero joint pain after dropping the D3 and the potatoes. You got joint pain, you're taking vitamin D, you're eating nightshades on a regular basis. You could probably, I said this on Twitter today, if you cut out the D3, or tell your nana this, or whoever, tell the older people in your family or your mom or your relative, if they take out the vitamin D supplement and the nightshades for a month, I will bet their pain will decrease. Their day-to-day pain will decrease by at least 50%. For a month strict. Like not, oh, I had some salsa today. No, you screwed it up. Start over. Start the month over. They might still notice that their joint pain hurt less. But I had a buddy in naturopathic school when I learned about nightshades. And he's like, dude, my mom can't even, she wants to kneel on the pew at church. She couldn't. She hurt so bad. And I told him, dude, these are the nightshades. Take them out. And he said, my mom loves eggplant. Eggplant is the worst one of all of them. She got rid of the eggplant. She got rid of the other nightshades. Within a month, she's kneeling in the pew at church. He was like, my mom wanted to say thank you so much. So that was back in naturopathic school. So that was 2003. Okay. Joe says, I find my dreams are solving puzzles now. Joe's been doing the MSG. I told him about it early. E9XBT said, nice improvement in REM sleep. John Linsky added, I had incredibly stiff joints and had to stop working out. I thought it's because I'm close to 40, but nope, I'm back to normal now. Wouldn't it be nice to be back to normal? And then Dagmar says, yes, about the dreams, Joseph. Same here, solving puzzles. Sergio said, my mother-in-law takes D3 and calcium for her knee pain. I told her it only makes it worse, but it's hard to tell people because they don't listen, doc. Ask her for a month. Ask her to give you a month. Tell her if she does a month strictly and there's no change, then you won't ask her again. If you can add topical magnesium to her, let's say to her knee during that, it will make it work even better. But the magnesium lotion by itself cannot overpower the nightshades and the rat poison. The poison always wins. So if you can't get the magnesium lotion in, getting the poisons out is the priority. That is the priority. Oh, Usman Javed added lower back, ankle, and shoulder all better with 0 rehab exercises 6 months into the program. Nice. A lot of your joint pains, folks, are systemic. If you start seeing, especially when you see both sides hurting, when you see both knees hurting, both hips hurting, both elbows hurting, that's gonna most likely be, and there's no reason for it to happen, it's most likely systemic biochemical toxicity going on, or it could be deficiency. But when you see both sides, especially if both shoulders and then both knees and then both, like it's slowly breaking the system down, can it unilateral, like one-sided, can still be toxicity. Absolutely. But when you see bilateral, that's more likely going to be toxicity. Usman added, these were issues that took me away from training for almost 5 years. My middle back pain, which I believe was a referred adrenal pain. I could not, there was times where I was not going to squat, not going to deadlift, because if I put too much effort into my spinal erector muscles, it was going to wreck me for like 3 days or 4 days, and I couldn't work out. So I was just like, okay, we're just not going to do those. And even still, if I put too much effort into my workout, it would still get flared up. Probably because it was adrenals and the toxicity in my adrenal that was referring pain there. So all I had to do was put out enough effort, right? Obviously, squats and deadlifts are a lot of nervous system effort. So they would aggravate it more than anything else. But if I put enough effort into anything else, I could also flare that up. That is gone. That was one of the reasons I got into naturopathic medicine. That pain. Sean Jock says a moment of normalcy has become my life goal. He says, dare to dream that normal is possible. Yes, absolutely. Dare. Yes. You must believe that normal is possible. That is key. Okay. So Sergio added, Doc, please, what do you think about palm oil? I have to have something sweet sometimes and my biscuits have palm oil in them. Is it bad? Thank you. Okay. Refined palm oil that is white. I'm not that concerned about it. Red palm oil, which is red and stinky, that we don't want. So if you can find out if it's, especially if it's naturally refined, just so you guys know, the natural refining process of oils is like basically like a part of soap making. They use part of the process of soap making to grab the parts out of the oil that we're refining it from, and then they take those parts out. Funny thing that refining red palm oil naturally would take the carotenoids and other toxins out of it. Naturally refining oil tends to make oils have less color and be more clear. Weird that it pulls the toxins out. So yeah, if it's refined, Sergio, that's not a deal breaker. No. Oh, and let me just say this. Oh, and Uzman added one more thing. Funny enough, the MSG seemed to make training feel way, way better. This is only week 2. 2 weeks, folks. You've heard all these testimonials. Amazes me, the haters out there. Like, God, their lives must suck. So, and he said, Sergio said, yes, refined, only refined in biscuits. Well, they don't really want to use red palm oil because it stinks. It doesn't taste good. We had one woman on the program. She said she had a bunch of red palm oil left. This was the woman with the highest hair calcium I'd ever seen at 700. Took us 2.5 years to bring it down. She also did like a tablespoon of cod liver oil at points. She did, actually, was it 2 tablespoons? She did the fermented, the rancid cod liver oil. She did the normal cod liver oil. And then at one point she had a bunch of red palm oil left over that she wanted to use up. She had it around. She just wanted to use it up. So she was using like 2 tablespoons a day in her food. She said she turned orange. Don't use the less color that's in any oil you use, the less bad it is for you. Wait, the less color, the less bad for you. Yes. Naturally refined. You don't want chemically refined. You want naturally refined. That's just like sodium hydroxide. The same stuff that they use, they put it in and they take it out. It's like soap making. They're not making soap out of it. They're using it to refine the oil to take the bad stuff out of it. I'm not an expert in that chemistry. I never say I'm a chemistry expert, but if you look up how to naturally refine oils, you'll find that it's a sodium hydroxide process. It's absolutely related to the process of making soap. Okay. It's part of the process. They're not giving you soap back as oil. No. Okay. Joseph Chase says, next purchase MSG. Emma T said, I found I started remembering my dreams after taking zinc. So see, it could be other things. It could be zinc. It could be MSG. It could be all these things. But what do zinc and MSG affect? Copper toxicity. Well, also MSG, as we went over in that show, in the different shows about it, MSG, well, it binds the copper, but it also, what was I going to say? Oh, it helps your ALDH. And your body reabsorbs as much of the glutamate from your bile as possible. Your body actually breaks down after glutathione's kind of gone through the process. It'll break down the glutathione to try to save the glutamate. So yeah, it's pretty important. Christine added, I tried red palm oil when Trader Joe's promoted it years ago. It was so disgusting tasting, I had to return it. It's bad. Don't eat red palm oil. If you're going to do any palm oil, naturally refined, organic, of course. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I got to get going. Hope you all enjoyed that. Hope for those of you who were doubting the MSG, just remember, if you feel anything from it, realize it could just be in your head. I'm talking pure MSG, not MSG in food. So if you don't, let's say if you're like, well, I tried coconut aminos, I don't feel good on them. Then don't eat coconut aminos. Do the pure MSG, okay? But sorry, Joe's already putting the links. Give me a second, Joe. And so if you want to try it, teeny pinch. Like I have people, there's people who are like, oh yeah, I started with a quarter teaspoon. And I'm like, I didn't say to do that. I said to start with a pinch. We had one woman who's like, I drank it in a glass of water. Didn't say to do that. I'm telling you all, I'm going to have to go to my office hours where I help the testing and consultation clients. And they're all going to be like, well, I did all this weird crap with the MSG. And is that what I'm supposed to do? And I'm going to be like, we laid it out very specifically how you use this. Why are you doing that? I have to be like a dad sometimes. I'm like, that's not what I told you to do. Anyway. So, okay, Joe, start the links, but just watch the episodes and you'll likely benefit. So these are the past live streams, youtube.com/nutrition detective and streams. And then you can, so the video. So just remember, if you can't find a video either in the videos or in the live streams, then look at the other one on the little tab on our YouTube channel. Okay. Some of our videos, some of the live streams are up as videos and some of them are as live streams. So if you can't find one, then you'll have just look in the other place. We're only missing one live stream on YouTube, and that is on Rumble if you want to watch it, because YouTube said you guys were naughty and you mentioned the borine trioxide, if you know what I mean. Okay, NutriDetect on X is where I'm at on Twitter. We're working on, Joe. Don't throw another link at me. We're going to be getting a new Instagram and a new Facebook page up. So we realized that Meta didn't like our other pages for various reasons that we didn't know about. So we are going to re-up those pages. I will tell you all what those pages are next week. We'll have those links up. Go like and follow them when I get them up. I'll probably announce it on Twitter and all that place. So I'll definitely announce it here. Oh, we got one more super chat. Sergio said, thank you very much, Doc. I feel like when the bile is stirring up in my guts, I tend to get very bad breath and I have to eat something for it to pass. I've talked about this. You could also do some charcoal in water. If you pump a lot of bile and you get GERD, that's bile coming up. But we can have bad breath from stuff in our guts. If you didn't know, like, oh my gosh, when you're around old people who are not very well, and you can like practically smell either the sewer or it's almost like necrosis. It's almost like dying tissue in them. My dad used to tell me like, he was a dentist. He's like, your gut doesn't give you bad breath. It's all the bacteria in your teeth. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. You ever smelled somebody burp? So, to eating something, when you're eating something, the food itself will absorb some of the bile and push it down. Charcoal could do the same thing. So, and yes, I used to get tons of bile in my stomach, and I used to actually get, in the very early days of this process, I'd get tons of bile in my stomach, and I would get like a very specific depression pattern. If you watch some of my old videos, I probably talk about it. It would be like, I'd start thinking, I'll never get everything done. It would happen over and over. Like it would happen. Sometimes there was a point where it would happen daily in the afternoon. And I'd feel my stomach start to get like nausea, like a little nausea. It was a very specific feeling. And I didn't know how to manage it back then. And I go, oh, I hope this isn't what I think it is. I know a lot of you out there can relate to this. You'll be like, oh, I feel it coming on, but maybe it won't happen this time. Feel it come on. And then so it would start in my stomach, and then whatever, the bile was probably going into my blood, because bile can be absorbed from your stomach directly into your blood. Then it went to my brain, and then I start getting this weird like depression where I'm never going to get everything done. And then that would spiral into, oh man, now I'm not going to be able to work out today, and I'm going to fall behind on my workout. So it was this anxiety and depression pattern. It was like to the T, it was repeatable. For those of you who don't know what a bile dump looks like, a bile dump is, especially at certain stages of your detox, it will be the same symptoms that like repeat. So they might get better for a while, and then all of a sudden you have the same symptoms come up, and it's like a script. Like mine was like scripted. It was the exact same process. And it took me a while to realize that it was that. and that it was just going to pass. But still, we all know once you're in it, it sucks. You're like, you feel like it's going to be this way forever. Right. So I'm not immune to all of this. This is also, yeah. Franklin Luther said another home run episode. Thanks, Doc. You are welcome. I am here to help. I put out all this stuff because I want to help people. I did all this stuff initially to fix myself because I was kind of like, if I don't fix myself, like if I don't have tools to fix myself, then that was just what I was interested in. So I'm here just spreading it to you guys, watching patterns. Okay. So Sergio said, it's the same for me. Very big depression when I get the detox after taking lactoferrin or niacin. Let's talk about this. Some people out there, not you, Sergio, you understand the bile dump, but some people out there don't understand the bile dump. And so they'll say that lactoferrin or niacin are bad for you and that they present big risks. No, because we all know that if, let's say you take something that triggers a bile dump, the very simple solution is to either take less the next time, or maybe you're not ready for it yet, so you don't take it. It doesn't do, a bile dump does not do any permanent damage. And if you pay attention to the instructions, the very detailed instructions that we give on lactoferrin and flush niacin, and you understand how to follow instructions, and you go, ooh, I had a bile dump. I don't like that. I'm going to follow the instructions and realize, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. And if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. So don't do that again unless you want to have to be tough, right? It's only a mistake if you refuse to learn from it and you choose to, and then you can add to that, if you choose to repeat it, then it's a mistake. So for people who understand that niacin can really get bile pumping, lactoferrin can really get bile pumping. If you've got toxic bile at the start, you need to be careful with them and start slowly. And if you observe any issues from it, then you do less, or maybe you're not ready for it. It's as simple as that. Some people out there, people who I think are more intelligent than maybe they are, don't seem to understand this. It's sad. So they're bad-mouthing things that they don't understand. So anyway, yeah, Joe was saying, and now look how much you've accomplished. Well, thank you, Joe. I still pulled off all those live streams during those days, and I like to think some people tell me the amount of material I put out is crazy. So, but still, the feeling of I'm not going to be able to do it. That was a bad thing at the time. That was really rough. Okay. So Christina said, thank you, Doc. Awesome live stream. Dagmar said, since I started the MSG, my bile dumps are really merciful, and I just go into a deep sleep for an hour and then I feel amazing. There's something that the glutamate is fixing about the bile. Like I said, it adjusts the biome. I do believe that it's necessary for proper ALDH function. Like glutamate is a cell food. Your liver cells make glutamate when they make liver enzymes, right? So it's going to make your liver just detox better because your liver is screaming for more glutamate when the liver enzymes go up, which means your liver's working harder or struggling. Okay. Karen said, great episode. Appreciate your dedication. Well, you're welcome, Karen. And, so Joe, if we got any more links, you can put them up now since I interrupted so well. I'm going to try not to talk anymore about the live chat. nutritiondetective.com. This is where you can find all of our stuff. You can find the testing and consultation packages. You can find our supplements. You can find a link under membership to the Love Your Liver program. And that's basically it. Now, just so you guys can look forward to something, we are in the process of an entire website redesign. It's going to be really cool. I think Kelsey's one of the only people other than Julie who's seen it, and Kelsey thought it was really looking good. And I think it's looking good too. So anyway, the Love Your Liver program, that link is that if you want to go directly to the Love Your Liver program, which is a do-it-yourself program, that's at members.nutritiondetective.com. That's also, you can find on the membership link on nutritiondetective.com. So I'm working on potentially a revamp of the whole program, updating it with all the things we've learned over the years too. So making sure those are all in there. So that's the store, nutritiondetective.com/collections.shop. There is a VIP store for members of the Love Your Liver program where everything is automatically discounted, and we sell things in there that we can't sell on the normal internet. Okay. So yeah, this is the link to the consultations with our health facilitators. So if you want to work with them, get a hair test, get the blood tests, get the consult, if your first package, you get access to the Love Your Liver program for free for good. It's included in the package. So if you get a consultation package, you get lifetime access to the Love Your Liver program. And then there's office hours, which we offer. That's different than everybody else. With a package, you get 6 months access to the weekly office hours that I do one. It's a small group thing. So yes, you're going to hear other people's stuff and they're going to hear yours, and you're in line based on when you post the question. But you get access to me and Kelsey and Nathan for 6 months. Each of us do one a week, and you can come in there with your questions. You could come to every single one if you had the time to do it. But yeah, you get access. So even though I'm not doing a lot of consultations these days, you get access to me in office hours, regardless of who you work with. So you want to ask me questions, and you want it to be about your situation specifically, that's the place to do it. Okay. Oh, that's me, Dr. Garrett Smith. Let me just see a couple more things here. That's one. Yeah, this was the MSG one. This is our second MSG episode, and we're going to do the dorky episode, the nerdy episode, all the nitty gritty sometime with Kelsey. Sergio said, "Can I give some MSG to my daughter? Right, just a pinch." Yes. Actually, remember, Sergio, if you remember the MSG episode, human milk is 10 times higher in glutamate than cow milk. Apparently, the mom knows to make more glutamate for the baby. So we have less calcium than cow's milk in human milk, and we have way more glutamate. Okay, so yeah, Joe put up the other episode. Christina said, "Oh, nice. Looking forward to seeing the new website." I am too. Dagmar says office hours are the education bomb. Dagmar is there. She is a regular. I always know she's going to be there. She sometimes helps me with figuring out who showed up and who didn't. She's super helpful. And remember, Dagmar and Beth are doing their new podcast together. So check that out. That was in the live chat. If you guys, Dagmar and Beth, if you want to post the podcast link and the episode in the comments after this is done, so anybody who comes later can see it, that would be great. So yeah, I think that's all we got. Let me see, anybody else show up? No, that's it. Okay. So sorry if I didn't get any questions. If you guys got questions that didn't get answered today, bring them next time. That was another 3 hours. Whew. Okay. Love to hear all you guys getting better. Oh, so Beth posted, here's episode 1, Yen on the Rocks with Dagmar and Beth. Yes. So that's that. And then, Sergio said, "Love you, Doc." I mean, I love you guys too. I'm here to help. And so that's why, just so you guys know, when I hear that I'm helping you, that really gives me, more juice to keep going. So I really do love hearing it. And as you guys have seen, when things are not working out, we're here to try to help you get better with it. And if that means more of something or less of something, we are trying to do that. Oh, JJ Hempcrete Bear said, "Hey, Doc." Christina Sophia put a heart, and yes, thank you. Yeah, we're just, yeah. I mean, it's really, I know I'm not saving everybody's life but when I hear people out there saying this program literally saved my life, it's wow. I don't think many practitioners get to hear that. And so it's nice. So that does keep me going in spite of the haters out there who would say terrible things that they would never say to my face. So yeah, but that's the way it is. That's the internet days. So, okay. So I will see you all next time. Have a great week. Next week, my plan is the Zeolite show. So be there or be square. Okay. Have a great week, y'all. Bye now.